Monday through Friday, 8 to 11 Eastern Time. Your home for all things Big 12.
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. Welcome into the program. It is a Wednesday edition. Heard exclusively on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios, the Big 12 Fast Channel. I'm James Westling. Taman Turner, T-Chains, who's normally producing for us on the audio side. He is filling in for Ari Timken all week long. We've got Will Connerly, our TuneIn producer. We have Anthony Smith behind the cameras for Big 12 Studios. We are brought to you by Modelo, and we have dove in this week to our 30 days out, would not be appropriate because it's now less than that, but our countdown to kickoff series. We started with Cincinnati. Yesterday was Iowa State. Today, the Kansas Jayhawks. We'll break down what do we know about KU, what don't we know, some position battles to watch in camp, which starts this week for everybody. NFL training camp is underway. We'll go through some injury updates for the Hawks, depth chart locks, among many things. There is officially a poll out to be unpacked, which we'll do here in just a moment. But guys, what's up?
I'm doing well, James. It's Wednesday, the middle of the week. We've made it this far. I feel good. I can't believe I'm on day 3 of filling in, coming off the bench, being the sixth man, being the backup quarterback, filling in. I'm Will Hammond to Baron Morton last year. I'm trying to do my best, and I feel good. How about you?
Doing great, buddy. Here, fist my bump.
Let's do it. Let's do it live.
Every time I say that, I'm quickly reminded in my brain that if you haven't seen Project Hail Mary, that reference isn't going to land and should be removed from my vocabulary.
I have not seen Project Hail Mary.
So there's a line in the movie that I find hilarious where they say instead of fist bump, he says fist my bump. So every time I give you a fist bump, I've been using that. But I think it needs to be removed, and it reminds me of a proud dad moment that I'd love to get some feedback on from you guys from over the weekend. Will is childless. Is that in the plans? Is that going to happen?
I want it to happen. We want it to happen. We don't know the plans, though.
You don't know the plans. Have you talked about it?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
We desire.
You're very young.
Just believe that the plans could be out of our control as well.
Yeah.
But we want them. We desire them. Not a father yet.
Okay. It's part of the blueprint, though.
Hope so.
Yeah. The foundation has been laid in terms of this is something that we both want eventually.
Correct.
Taman, how many more children are you planning to churn out?
If we've talked about one more. Yeah, we'd like to. My wife and I both have a sibling, so we want Cam to have a sibling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if it's a boy, are you going to shoot for a girl, number 3?
No.
Okay. You're cool with just, hey, 2 boys were good.
Yeah. If I have a daughter, that'll be cool, though, because kind of get the best of both worlds, son and daughter. I know you have a daughter.
Yeah, it's totally different.
Yeah.
It's totally different.
Yeah.
Like I used to think, boys, girls, it doesn't matter. No, it's totally different.
Right.
We are truly 2 completely different species.
What do you mean shoot for, though? You can control? What? Or just that's what you hope for?
No,
I think hope for.
Yeah, hope.
Yeah, unless there's science behind being able to pick which gender comes out of the womb.
Right. You can't really control that.
As far as I know, I don't think you can.
I'll be happy either way. If my son has a brother, cool. If my son has a sister, it'll be cool for me because I like new experiences.
Okay.
Yeah.
That feels right. I like that. All right, so I've got, so I have a 6-year-old son. And this weekend we stopped at the gas station. And kids, this is like a viral thing. Apparently these squishies, which they call them squishies, that's a universal term. Back in my day, we just called them like stress balls. But these squishies, because that's very much what they are going, like I said, viral. It's insane. These things are going for thousands of dollars on eBay and other platforms, right? So they see this batch of squishies at the gas station, and he picks out a banana squishy. You can get them in different shapes and sizes. Some have glitter, some don't. It's a whole thing. 5 minutes later, he changes his mind. right? He wants to trade with his brother. So his brother ends up with the banana squishy. And I'm just kind of observing this interaction from afar.
It sounds like a nice case study. Like you're observing, you're monitoring what's going on.
Taking copious notes.
Mhm.
There's going to be a lesson to be learned here
Right.
eventually. So anyways, all the entire rest of the trip home, I keep hearing from the 6-year-old, "Can I see your banana? Where's your banana? Can I hold your banana? Can I touch your banana?" But it was, "Can I see your banana?" Well, I felt like this is my moment. This is my moment to step in
You're jumping in.
and be it was a proud dad moment. I stepped in, I finally kind of pulled him aside. I said, "Look, buddy," I said, here's some advice that's going to serve you very well for the rest of your life. And about 15 years from now, you're going to truly understand. But full stop, I think you should stop asking people if you can see their banana.
Yeah. That was very good advice. Very strong advice. Good job.
Yeah.
Dad of the week.
Yeah, I felt pretty good about it.
Yeah.
Let's not spend the rest of our day walking around asking people if you can see their banana.
Yeah, that's
We're gonna put an end to that. We shut it down. He looked at me like I was the weird one, but that's parenting. Half your job is teaching lessons that your kids don't understand, but will 5, 10, 20 years down the road.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because I like when you and Ari tell stories about your kids. I really soak it in because, my son is only 2, and I know you guys have been at that stage of the toddler stage and whatnot, right? So it's kind of like I'm learning or soaking in what to expect in a few years. I know kids kind of say things.
They say the most outrageous stuff.
Right,
None of it makes sense. Most of it's hilarious.
Right, and sometimes they say things so innocently, and they don't understand the broader context of it. And I know my son's not at that age yet, but I know one day he will be, and I'll look back on this moment and be like, that was a James moment right there that I taught my son.
Yeah, my lesson couldn't land with him with a straight face. I simply could not contain. Felt like I was in 7th grade again. Somebody said, "Can I see your banana?" And I just giggled the whole way home. And then I finally pulled him aside. I said, "Let's pump the brakes on that one."
Let's pause.
Say a lot of wacky things. Most of them are hilarious. This one is as well. But let's not do it. Will?
Well, I was going to ask what was his reaction, but you kind of already went that direction when
Confusion.
you're saying that.
Yeah, just confusion.
More questions coming from that? Or
No,
just,
we weren't going to deep dive why.
just
We're
Roger
just,
that?
fruit off limits.
Okay.
Okay. Starting with the banana. Will is just huge. Have I mentioned that?
He's a big guy.
Massive. If somebody said he played tight end in the NFL, I wouldn't blink an eye. Would not blink an eye.
Okay.
I believe it.
Just massive.
I would blink.
Could you imagine, if Taylor McCarg and Lige Douzable and Will Connerly were all sitting next to it, and then there's just us. we would just be the oddballs. Look at these 3,
Hall of Fame game
yeah,
from 10 years ago.
Exactly.
That's what it would be.
3 studs and then just us.
And you normally sit at that table, that producer table, and
Yeah.
it looks appropriately sized when you're there. It looks very small.
Okay.
It looks like a ticket taker at a church bake sale. It's tiny. It's tiny
Next.
compared to Will. He's just a big dude. All right, we are off and rolling. So it's a Stand on Business Wednesday. The business that I think we should touch on here off the top is that the preseason top 25 coaches poll is out for college football. And Ohio State is the preseason number 1. Oregon is number 2. Georgia's number 3. Texas, of course, cracks the top 5 at number 4. If you remember, T-Chains, Texas was the preseason number 1 team last year, and they didn't make the college football.
As a Longhorns fan, I thoroughly remember that very well.
Okay, so no Big 12 teams crack the top 10. But, and there is a but with this, Texas Tech checks in at number 12 preseason. BYU checks in at number 15. So the Big 12 has 2 teams in the top 15. Utah enters the season. They will be ranked, according to the coaches, preseason number 21. And then you have Houston, who's preseason number 24. So 4 teams in the preseason top 25. I went and I looked at how the Big 12 fared in the preseason last season. Arizona State was the highest ranked team in the preseason coaches poll. They checked in at number 11. one spot higher than Texas Tech. They finished the season unranked. The other teams in the Big 12, Kansas State was preseason number 20. Iowa State was preseason number 21. BYU and Texas Tech were preseason number 23 and number 24. If BYU and Texas Tech preseason last year are 12 and 15, both of them are in the college football playoff, because we have seen historically over time the preseason polls do matter, because it positions these teams for, if you take an L, how many spots are you going to fall and where are you going to be when the College Football Playoff Committee, which, remember, they don't meet until like week 9 of the season. Where are they going to start with those initial rankings? It's usually pretty similar to what you see in the AP Top 25 and the Coaches Poll.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because there's a lot of context that matters, behind these polls. You mentioned last year Arizona State was at number 11. Arizona State last year had Sam Leavitt and Jordan Tyson, on their roster, and they were playing very, very well. Iowa State was ranked in the top 25, and they were playing really, really well when the season started. We talked about it yesterday, until they had injuries in their secondary, and then they looked like a totally different defense. This year, this does seem appropriate. At least the teams that are in the top 25. I don't know if I necessarily have them, if they're positioned right in my eyes, but I do believe Texas Tech, BYU, Utah, and Houston are top 25 teams. Personally, I would have Houston ahead of Utah, because, and it's really not a knock at Utah. It's more or less, let me see Morgan Scalley as a head coach compared to I know what Willie Fritz brings. I do think they're in and around that area in the top 25, but I would just have Houston ranked a little bit higher. As for Texas Tech and BYU, I think when you look at the projection of this roster, I think Texas Tech should be in the top 10. I think BYU they're ranked 15. I think they should be ranked a little bit higher. Let's just say this: I am a little biased. I'm not a fan of USC. I'm not a fan of LSU, and I'm not a fan of Alabama. So maybe I think BYU should be ranked a little bit higher than those three teams. But I do think that, deservingly so, these are the top 4 teams. Sleeper team for me, you agree with me. I know Mr. Connerly does not, is Kansas State. I think they should be ranked higher. I think they're better than Missouri. Just throwing that out there.
They got a vote, receiving vote.
See?
1 vote, I think, in the coaches poll.
It was James.
Yep. Kansas State got 1 vote.
James sent it in.
So in terms of receiving votes, because these are teams that are close to being ranked in the top 25, TCU is the 3rd team out. So TCU is just outside of the top 25. Arizona, if I'm an Arizona fan, I have a major bone to pick with them only getting 50 votes. That would put them like in the 30 to 35 range without doing the math. Oklahoma State received 22 votes, which would put them as like part of the top 10, the first 10 out of the top 25. And then other Big 12 schools that received votes, Arizona State got some votes. As you guys noted, K-State got 1 vote. So about half the league at least got votes. But in terms of, so I went and I looked at, because the AP Top 25 is ultimately like the poll until the College Football Playoff rankings. Historically, the coaches poll and the preseason AP Top 25 are pretty dang close. They are real similar. In fact, each of the last 2 seasons, the top 7 were identical. You'd have to go back to 3 years ago where there was a little bit of a discrepancy, but again, it's only like a spot or 2. Now, 15 to 25 range, which would include BYU, just on the cusp of that, preseason number 15, that's where you see more movement, where there will be maybe 2 to 3 to 4 spots difference between the two. But I would say having 2 teams in the top 15, when last year the Big 12, the top 2 teams coming into the season were number 11 and number 20, I look at this as a glass half full for if Texas Tech and BYU have the type of seasons that we think they're capable of. And if BYU is undefeated going into the Notre Dame game, by default, they're going to be in the top 10. So you're going to have a top 10 showdown that will just further magnify that stage and moment for this league. That's my main takeaway from this poll, is looking ahead.
Yeah, I think looking ahead, I think that's a pretty good take. I think what we have, currently As I mentioned, I like what we have. When we look at some of the teams, going forward, football's such a wait and see progress, and I know that's like the boring approach, but as I mentioned like beforehand, like context matters, and these are the questions that we're going to be answering in September and October. Injuries, quarterback battles that we still don't know yet that we're going to talk about today on the countdown, the kickoff. That's an answer right there. And I don't think Kansas is a top 25 team, but for example, let's say Arizona State as a sleeper team, right? They have a quarterback battle that they're engaging in right now. What's that going to look like for their roster moving forward? Will Hammond at Texas Tech. I don't think he's in a quarterback battle. Of course, he's the starter, but how is he going to adapt, and how will that affect Texas Tech coming off of that knee injury? Because here's the thing, and you and I both know this, James. Physically, I have no doubt that Will Hammond feels great. No doubt about it. But mentally and emotionally, when you're playing the game, and in the moment, when you don't want to get hurt, or maybe you're playing off of a little bit of rust, how does that make you look? How does that make your offense look? How does that make your roster look? That goes into the factor when it comes to determining these polls, when it comes to determining who should be where and ranked, and where and how they're ranked. So, I mean, context matters. Again, I know that's the boring approach, but we can't ignore that that's a reality.
And to me, both of these teams preseason are appropriately ranked. I can see why Texas Tech fans might feel like they were slighted.
Sure.
But when you look at the 11 teams ranked in front of them, they have way more roster retention, especially at the quarterback position. There's more high-level, elite, NFL-ready quarterbacks in college football this year than there has been in probably a decade plus. There are so many guys coming back. And last year it was the total opposite. You had a bunch of fresh faces. Nobody knew anything about C.J. Carr or the kid at Ohio State, Julian Sayin. Thank you. This season is Dante Moore, Sayin's back, Carr's back, Arch Manning is back at Texas. And Texas Tech, while we feel confident that Will Hammond's going to be fine, I can see why other coaches wouldn't necessarily agree with that sentiment and would still be taking a wait-and-see approach. Number 12 is going to be fine for Texas Tech, especially when you factor in last year they started like number 24. Now, some data on comparing the two polls. Remember, last year in the AP poll, the number 1 and number 2 teams in the country preseason were Texas number 1, number 2 was Penn State, and it was the closest margin in terms of votes between number 1 and number 2 in AP preseason poll history. Neither team played in the college football playoff, and one of them canned their head coach midway through the year. Now, the season before in 2024 is the year that there was no separation in the top 8 between the AP and the coaches poll.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
And this is a huge hypothetical, but I think an appropriate hypothetical. If Brendan Sorsby was the quarterback of Texas Tech right now today, where would Texas Tech be ranked?
Top 8.
Top 8.
Top 8, easily top 8, maybe top 5, actually.
I agree. I wanted to get your thoughts on that because, again, I keep mentioning about how context matters, but and I know it's a hypothetical. It's not going to happen. Brendan Sorsby's never going to play for Texas Tech, but I really thought into what you said about roster retention. And Will Hammond has been on this roster. He knows his offense. Not to say Sorsby wouldn't have been fine. I agree with you. They would have definitely been at the very least top 8. But I had to think, going forward, what is this going to look like, James Westling, in week 2? What's this going to look like in week 4, in week 6, in week 9? I can't wait for it.
The other, and I'm trying to find before we get to a break, Indiana's preseason number 6.
Yeah.
The defending national champs are preseason number 6. Now, I understand they had the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft, and he played the quarterback position. But many would say that Josh Hoover is actually an improvement at that position. In terms of the numbers, he definitely is. So Indiana being preseason number 6, I think magnifies the, for lack of a better term, propaganda when it comes to the blue bloods of college football. Ohio State's number 1, Oregon's number 2, Georgia's number 3, Texas is number 4, Notre Dame's number 5, Indiana, the defending champs, are number 6.
If I'm Kurt Cignetti, I'm low key very mad about this, and seeing how Kurt Cignetti kind of operates, you know that shade that he threw at the SEC last week, and by saying like we're the Big Ten, we're the best conference. I'm not saying I agree or disagree. I'm just saying like he knows what he was doing by taking that. I bet him seeing this has him fuming inside.
Oh, bulletin board material.
Yeah.
It is the 3rd lowest ranking for a defending champ in coaches poll history. The other 2 were Michigan in 2024. They started number 9. Jim Harbaugh left for the NFL, gutted their roster. And then Auburn, all the way back in 2011, post Cam Newton, they were preseason number 22. 3rd lowest ranking ever in the history of the poll for the defending champs.
Going back to Indiana.
Big mad. All right, coming up next, we will break down the Kansas Jayhawks countdown to kickoff. Matt Tate, the managing editor for R1S1 Sports, KU site, Wave the Wheat, always really tied to the program. He's with us later on this first hour of the show. T-Chains, James, Will, Anthony, that's our crew. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio.
Jackson's in trouble now. David Bailey, he is a sack machine. Third and 8.
12 today here on Big 12 Radio. Brought to you, the full-time fan, by our friends at Modelo. He's T-Chain's Taman Turner, filling in for Ari all week long. I'm James Westling. Will Connerly's producing, and Anthony Smith is behind the camera. It is a Wednesday. We power rank each and every Wednesday. We'll be doing that a little bit later on in the program. Matt Tate, the KU insider, joins us in about 15 minutes. All right, countdown to kickoff. The Kansas Jayhawks, the team that we look at today. We've been through Cincinnati. We've been through Iowa State. Kansas goes 5-7. They go 3-6 last year in the Big 12. Now they have to replace a quarterback who had 9,000 career passing yards. Lance Leipold enters year 6 with a quarterback battle that nobody's ready to call, at least as of today. A defense that got a complete overhaul, and a schedule that only gives them 3 true home games in Big 12 play. So the back-to-back 5-7 seasons, he asked for patience. How much patience is left in Lawrence? I think for me it starts at the quarterback position. Let's play Lance Leipold, hear from the head coach on the similarities, clip 6. We'll do clip 6 if we can do that.
First of all, if you watch Cole, and there's things in the pass game that both can do well, and others, there's things that you mentioned. Isaiah could be dynamic. I've kind of said this, and whether or not it's completely accurate, but I pick a couple guys that have been in our conference. I look at Cole doing things like Rocco Beck at Iowa State. I look at some things, a very solid quarterback, a leader, a winner, can make the right plays. Yes, and he has some of those things for you that he'll get you first downs when you need to. And then I look, sometimes Isaiah could be a little bit like Dampier at Utah, and there's some similarities that they both can do well and give us some different things, but they both fit what we can do. And again, we talked already a lot about Andy. The thing that I love about Andy, and it goes way back to our Division III days, is he's done an outstanding job creating an offense based on what's available.
I love the visual comparison, the comp for Cole Ballard and Rocco Becht. Cole Ballard is more crafty, maybe doesn't have the raw athleticism that Isaiah Marshall has, but it's like that is also the camp battle to watch for Kansas. KU last year, though, even under Jalen Daniels, they were 107th nationally in total offense, less than 400 yards per game. Their passing numbers, they were 130th in the country. That is the opposite end of the spectrum from what they did previously under their new offensive coordinator who returns to Lawrence, Andy Kotelnicki. You go back to 2023, they were top 10 nationally in points, top 10 nationally in yards per completion, yards per play, rushing yards, total offense. Like, they were a top 10 offense nationally, full stop.
Yeah, when I look at this offense for Kansas, I will remind Jayhawks fans that they're going to be okay without Jalen Daniels. And I say that because even though I know there's a quarterback battle right now between Cole Ballard and Isaiah Marshall, we heard what Leipold had to say. Ballard knows his offense. He's been the backup. Marshall is kind of a dynamic. He can kind of do it all a little bit, kind of like Jalen Daniels could. But most importantly, this offensive line, they were able to get Connor Stroh from Texas, who's a very good offensive lineman. He came over. He's going to make this offense better. And I look at the receiving core, and it got better as well, led by Cam Pickett, who you guys spoke to at Media Days. So I when I look at this offense, and Kotelnicki kind of has some, things to work with, some talent to work with, I think Kansas's offense can be a lot better than what maybe people are thinking going into the season.
And I want to ask Matt Tate about Chase Jenkins, who was the quarterback at Rice last season. He's super athletic. Out of high school, he was one of those guys listed as an athlete because he could play quarterback, he could play wide receiver. Statistically, he has by far the better numbers in comparison to Cole Ballard and Isaiah Marshall. And from everything I've seen in terms of what's been reported on, he's not even being considered as a quarterback. He's going to play a different position for Kansas. So that to me says more about how KU feels about the quarterbacks that they have. Now, Will, I would say clip 4, which is the offensive coordinator, Andy Kotelnicki, and just his impact that he will have, according to Lance Leipold, on this offense?
I think like any of us that you know, is going through the process of changing jobs and returning, you hit some of the things that you remember, that how we operate and what we did. But he also brings a lot of good insight of different things. And when you have someone, as we say it for what it is, the Big Ten and SEC sometimes operate a little bit differently.
Yes.
And resources and other ways of operation. And he's brought some of those to light for us in many different ways in what we're doing. When he came back and as we talked about, okay, what type of role, what is it going to be? I said, you know, I want more input. I want your ideas. I want you to be, you're going to be involved in some things. And with that associate head coach title, there's going to be things that maybe aren't just offensively related that I want your input on. And he's been outstanding. And within 24 hours in the building, I could tell that it was the old Andy. We were back operating differently. And the thing is, Andy's a constant learner. He challenges ideas. I love the way he thinks. He makes me think differently, and he's making our football program better.
Operate like we used to. That'll be exciting for KU fans. All right, position battles. What's the number one headline position battle that will be decided in camp for you? Outside of quarterback. It can't be quarterback, Taman. You can't say quarterback. Don't say quarterback.
I was going to say, well, there's the obvious, right? But no, look, I really like this receiving room because I want to see – I know Cam Pickett's going to lead this, but, you know, they bought in Najee Cox. They bought in Nick McMillan, both from Middle Tennessee and Buffalo, who combined for 102 catches last season at their respective schools. But I think about hearing what Lance Leipold just said about Andy Koldnicki and how they want this offense to be a bit more explosive, I should say. Ari Temkin, Kansas alumni, has said multiple times that he felt like Leipold at times would kind of, you know, play not to lose. Well, I don't know if Koldnicki wants to do that. He wants to play to win, and I think this receiving core, we talked about whoever the quarterback's going to be. I think the wide receivers who this starting quarterback will be working with will be massive on how this offense really looks from an explosive standpoint.
Love that pick because I look at another skill position. Like KU under Kotelnicki, his offense is so creative that it could almost looking for the right word here. The offensive line doesn't have to be as good.
And I think they're going to be much better this year. Yeah.
Because it puts those guys in a position that limits the exposure to their weaknesses. So for me, like the offensive line, I'm with you. It's going to be okay. I look at running back. They bring in Dylan Edwards, the transfer from K-State, who 2 years ago averaged 7.5 yards per carry, which led all Power 4 running backs that had like a minimum of 70 carries on the season. Last year, he only had 200 yards. He averaged 6 yards per carry, which is still really good, but he only played in a small handful of games. He's coming off an injury, which is also one to watch. But then they bring in the Syracuse transfer, Yassine Willis. He had almost 600 yards, didn't have a ton of carries, but he's big. He's a bruising back. He missed Syracuse last 2 games last season, but he is now fully healthy. And then Jalen Dupree is the Colorado State transfer. Colorado State, they had kind of a timeshare running back situation, but he still led Colorado State in rushing with over 500 yards. So they've got kind of like this three-headed monster in the backfield that all are very different in the way they run the football.
Yeah, I think that's going to be very important because I think anytime you have a creative or a unique offense, it really does start with your run game and how that can, to me, that like in any time in football, a run game will open up how creative and explosive your offense can actually be. Defensively, this Kansas team had some issues last year. They didn't force a lot of turnovers, right? How do you see this defense under new defensive coordinator DK McDonald? How do you see this? Can this be turned around quickly in one season, or is it going to take a little time?
I think it can be turned around. I didn't see KU losing games because of their defense. You know, they got gashed against like Texas Tech, There was somebody else on their schedule that just blew up against them. But to me, it all started with the inefficiency offensively. They were one of the worst teams in the Big 12 in red zone scoring offense. Like, that's a gut punch.
Let me throw this at you. They had 10 turnovers last year, and 5 of them came in one game.
Takeaways?
Yeah. Takeaways, forced turnovers, yes. That's a problem.
That is.
That is a huge problem.
It's a huge red flag.
How do you fix that?
Turnover drills, law of averages.
They I like your answer, but their linebacker position, they had issues at corner last year. Their safeties, I look at this defense. I agree with you. They're not the reason that they had issues last year, but they certainly didn't help.
Yeah. He's Taman Turner. I'm James Westling, highlighting Kansas today. Our countdown to kickoff series. Up next, a guy that knows way more about KU football than we do, Matt Tate, the managing editor of KU site Wave the Wheat, is around the corner. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, brought to you by our friends at Modelo, where there is no offseason. The offseason only means research, but the season will be here soon. This is Big 12 Radio.
Here's this little look right over.
Daniels floats one.
All right, coming back now. Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio, powered by Modelo. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. We welcome in Matt Tate from Wave the Wheat, the R1S1 KU site covering all things Kansas, part of our Countdown to Kickoff series as we look at the Kansas Jayhawks today. And Matt, I want to start with the quarterback position is the big headline this offseason, but Chase Jenkins was the Rice quarterback last year, transfers to KU. On paper, like his numbers are better than Ballard or Marshall. Is he even still playing the quarterback position? And what does that say about how much they believe in the other two guys?
Yeah, he's definitely still playing quarterback. I saw him out at day one yesterday. He looks good, man. He moves around really well. He's an athletic, electric kind of player. But he was hurt all of spring, and that really put him out of the race. That's not to say he couldn't find his way back into it when the season rolls around. I mean, he may be a factor. He may be somebody they need at some point. But throughout the summer, throughout spring, and certainly heading into camp here, that any coach that's talked about this thing has talked about it as a race between Cole Ballard and Isaiah Marshall, and they talk about those two guys and both of them and words like that when they talk about the quarterback battle. So it's a two-man race, and if Chase hadn't been hurt, it might have been a different story. But that set him back quite a bit, I think, and he's got a great attitude. He's got a great personality. He seems super happy to be here still and just wants a chance and just wants to be healthy. So I think if they ever do get to the point where both of those guys are injured or both of those guys are ineffective or whatever, they'd certainly give him a look, I think. They brought him here for a reason, and that was to be part of it and be competitive. But when it comes down to picking a day one starter, he's definitely on the outside looking in.
Matt, who's going to be the QB1 against LIU on Friday, September the 4th? And will that QB1 be the QB1 the entire season?
That second part is the $1 million question. Right now and really throughout this entire offseason, my gut, my informed opinion, my instincts, all of that stuff have told me it's going to be Cole Ballard. He has a little bit better command of the playbook, of the offense, of everything they want to do. He's not flashy. He's not going to go out and win you games by himself. He's not going to, sell jerseys and inspire the fan base to, change their last names to Ballard or anything like that. But the kid knows how to play the position, and his teammates love and respect him. Isaiah Marshall's got so much potential, so much upside, and he can do things that Cole can't do, especially running the football. But he doesn't throw as good a ball, and I just don't know that he quite has the total command of the whole offense like Cole does. So that's not to say he couldn't get hot and really make a push here in the next 3-4 weeks. But if I were a betting man today, I would definitely put my chips into the Cole Ballard camp, and whether he's the guy all year or not, I think he has a chance to be. I do think, though, that they haven't been shy. Both Lance Leipold and Andy Kotelnicki, the offensive coordinator, they haven't been shy at all about saying they're going to use both guys. So Cole could very well be the starter all season, and Isaiah could play an important role, and he could play a meaningful role, and he could play whether it's a package they use for him or just in relief or whatever it is. I think he'll be on the field one way or the other. He's too good of a runner. He's too athletic. He's too much of a playmaker for them to have one of their better athletes just sitting on the sideline holding a clipboard all season. So I think they both play, but yeah, I would bet Cole starts, and I would bet as long as he's effective, he'll start all year.
Matt Tate joins us here on Big 12 today from KU site Wave the Wheat, R1S1 Sports. And I thought the comments that you grabbed yesterday from wide receiver Cam Pickett were very enlightening in terms of Andy Kotelnicki's offense requires a ton of communication from the other side of the ball, from the defense, because there's so much pre-snap movement. So how can this like offensive system help the defense?
Great question. Yeah, that's not. I hadn't even quite thought of it that way, but I think it's great. I mean, I can't say enough good things about Kotelnicki and the way he coaches, both as a mentor and a coach to player relationship kind of thing, and just as his X's and O's and his creativity. I mean, I think he's as good as it gets. I mean, I think the guy's super talented, and he showed that the first time around, and he shows, and that that's, I'll get to your question, but that's another thing with that quarterback position, right? Like, Andy's so creative and he's so unique with what he runs and the things he does that you may not have the most athletic, best, most talented quarterback in the conference, but he can find ways to get more out of them than most would. And so there's going to be some of that plays into how effective and efficient the quarterback is, whichever one it is, or if it's both of them. But yeah, with regard to how that affects the defense, I mean, they're going to see that all year, right? They're going to see looks that they don't know. They're going to see offenses trying to trick them and disguise things and all of that. And so the defense having to do that on a daily basis in practice is a test, and it's something that's going to prepare them for that. And so that's what Lance talked about yesterday as one of the big reasons he thinks this defense will be improved over the last couple of years. And it hasn't been good the last couple of years. I mean, ranking down in the 80s and 90s in total defense and giving up 400 yards a game, 6 yards a play. I mean, those aren't good numbers, and that's shown. If they were just a little bit better, they would have probably gone bowling both of those years instead of being 5-7. So communication is the big thing he talked about. He did say they have better size, better speed, better depth. Those things are important too, obviously, on either side of the ball. But when it comes to why he thinks this defense will be improved, it's the communication. And Cam talked about that. Yeah, I mean, he said, we're moving around and we're seeing what they're doing, reacting to our pre-snap movement and all of that stuff. And he said, we're hearing them call it all out from the safety position all the way down. And they're talking a lot, and they're talking to each other, and they're helping each other. And, I know that's football. That's basic stuff. But Trey Lathan said yesterday that they didn't have a ton of that last year, especially from the leadership standpoint of that. So that should help. And the other thing that should help is DK McDonald, their defensive coordinator, last year was his first year doing it. So he's got a year under his belt now. He should be more comfortable. The players should be more comfortable with him. And that can only help.
Matt, to piggyback off of that, DK McDonald, this defense had 10 turnovers last season, takeaways last season, and 5 of them came against Fresno State and West Virginia. How does DK McDonald fix that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and we'll get to talk to him not today but tomorrow. I would assume that's a big question that everybody wants to ask. He talks like every defensive coordinator out there about flying to the football and being opportunistic and trying to make plays happen by just being in the right spots, and I would assume that with better speed on that side of the ball, they'll think they have a chance to do that. They did bring in some transfers that'll have an impact, especially on the back end, safety and cornerback. But their linebacker room is really deep all of a sudden with a bunch of new faces and a few old ones too. But that's a big one. I mean, Lance talked about that yesterday too. He said there were games last year where they were a play away from having to play a walk-on at linebacker. And you don't want to do that. You guys know that. So the fact that they have better depth there, and the other thing about that communication part of this, and this could play into the turnover thing too, or the takeaways, these guys, because they're communicating, because they're calling out what they see and they're hearing each other and they believe everybody's kind of on the same page and in the right spots, they're more confident than they were last year. And so you put better speed with more depth and more confidence into a blender, and I have to think that would produce a few more takeaways. I don't know that they're going to be a takeaway monster and lead the nation or anything like that. That would be a pretty big jump, but I don't think it's crazy to think that they should be better in that area too. And a lot of that will depend on, guys like Taylor Davis, a safety who's a veteran who's been here, guys like Jalen Todd, a cornerback who's, really could play anywhere in the Big 12. He's talented, and he's moved all over, and he's played some nickel, and he's played some outside corner, and he's played all over the place his first couple of years here. So it's time for those guys to take a step forward and be a part of the solution there.
Matt, before we let you go, how is the health at running back? Because all three guys missed time at their previous stops last year. Everybody good? Everybody out there day one?
Yeah, the main guys are. Dylan Edwards is the big one. He looks good. Yasin Willis is another big one. I think Edwards is a name everybody knows. Willis is a guy that everybody's going to know. He's talented, man. He's a big physical dude, but he also has some shake to him, and he's got some speed, and he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He told me in the spring that's something he does better than I think anybody realizes, or than he thinks anybody realizes. So, there's a weapon there. And then Kid Dupree from Colorado State, who was hurt all spring as well. He was out there yesterday, and he'll be behind. It's hard to come into a new program and then miss all of spring and feel like you're up to speed on what's going on, especially when they want to start day one of camp like it's a practice, not like it's a first day of camp. And so it'll be interesting to see how quickly he can get into the mix and catch up. But he's a veteran of the game of college football, and so I'm sure he's done everything he can to try to catch up where he can. But yeah, they were all three out there yesterday, and this coaching staff really likes that running back room. They did lose a younger guy that they recruited and brought here. Justin Thurman is out for the year. Lance announced that yesterday. He showed a little bit of, some breakaway speed. He had a couple of flashes last year. He didn't play a ton, though. So that's a bummer for him as much as it is for the program, or maybe more so, because really nice kid, really, really talented. But, yeah, he's going to miss the year. And I guess that hurts the depth a little bit, but I still think they have enough in that room to feel good about it. And as long as those other three stay healthy, I think it could be a strength for sure. So it'll be interesting. But, yeah, Edwards is the guy, man. Willis has got a chance to really impact this team. So does Dupree. But Edwards is the guy. If he is anywhere close to who he can be and who we've seen him be at other stops, and if he's healthy, he can make a big difference for this offense and really for this team as a whole and their outlook for the season. So keep an eye on that one as much as any of them.
Yeah, three-headed monster could be the case at running back. Awesome stuff. Matt Tate from R1S1Sports.com. Wave the Wheat, covering the Kansas Jayhawks with us on Big 12 today. Thanks, Matt. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You bet, man. You guys tell Ari I missed him today.
We will. We will for sure.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, take care.
That's Matt Tate from Wave the Wheat, R1S1Sports.com, looking at the Kansas Jayhawks. They are off. Day one was yesterday, training camp, Kansas football. What's your main takeaway from everything we heard from Matt? For me, it was watch out for the running backs. Like, if there's a guy that is putting on more, I guess, athleticism than Dylan Edwards first day of camp, the transfer from Syracuse that he noted in terms of his talent, like, we know how talented Edwards is. That's really exciting for KU fans.
Yeah, I think that he was very optimistic about this run game, and I think that's going to open things up and really make things easier for who he thinks is going to be the quarterback at Cole Ballard likely being the starter. And even when they add in Isaiah Marshall, I think there's going to be a lot of packages for this offense that will really, begin with the run game. And Andy Koldenicki being back, the big thing with him is trying to be more explosive. And I think Matt, really kind of expressed how this run game will make that opportunity a reality for this Kansas offense.
Mm-hmm. Countdown to Kickoff is the series that we kicked off earlier this week, looking at the Kansas Jayhawks today. Coming up next hour, we will dive into – we have a bunch of athletic directors on the show today, 4, in fact, starting with Brian Santiago. We caught up with the AD at BYU the other day, and then Kirby Hocutt will join us live on the show, the athletic director at Texas Tech, later on this hour. He's Taman Turner. I'm James Westling. This is Big 12 Radio, exclusively on TuneIn, powered by Modelo.
Jalen Daniels steps up, and Daniels back to the air, felt the pressure, and Daniels takes off, outraces Rodriguez, stayed on his feet. New quarterback on a run through the right side, Isaiah Marshall. He's been through it quite a long time ago. He's here in year 6. Nice catch. Henderson off to the races with a vapor trail behind him. Daniels floats wide. Out of the pistol. QB keeper again. Using over the right side. First down on second and short. And what do you make of the decision from Jim Zabrowski to kind of change?
And away we go on a Wednesday. Happiness is a choice. Thank you for choosing us. Along with James Westling, I'm Ari Tepkin. It's Big 12 Today, presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios. And we are joined right away by the athletic director at BYU, Brian Santiago, kind enough to join us here bright and early this morning. Appreciate you waking up with us. How are you, Brian? Good to see you.
Doing fantastic. Always good to be on with you guys, Ari and James. It's great. Love promoting the Big 12. There's so many great things happening.
Yeah, and we were just talking a little bit before the interview started, and you are a legendary former Fresno State basketball player. They set the single-season assist record at Fresno. Am I right about that? 223.
Yeah.
And is second on the all-time list, despite only playing 2 years at Fresno, which is an insane thing. And so you were talking about how you're still playing these days.
Yeah, just trying to keep the mind right. We got a good group of guys and get together in the mornings, and just trying to stay in shape. And always good to get a sweat on the basketball court. And we have a few rules. They give me space, let me keep shooting that thing. So we make it fun.
Are you more shooting from three or on the assist side of things? Because you were also a really good 3-point shooter.
Yeah, I love setting other guys up. My dad always told me it's better to make an assist than score.
I agree.
Something about being a point guard, but these days I get a fair amount of FGAs up. I passed my whole career, so now I take a fair amount of threes.
Well, Brian, Jimmer Fredette joined us several weeks ago on the program and actually gave us like some shooting tips that we could share with our sons. And so, man, I took those to heart. I'm in the backyard shooting hoops and making sure that everything's aligned. And like Jimmer, his stuff stuck with me.
Yeah, Jimmer's one of a kind. I love that guy. We had some epic little shootouts back in the day when we were on the road together. We'd had some epic games. In fact, one night before San Diego State game down in San Diego, I was dressed in my work clothes at the time. We played a little game of 2-up, meaning if I shoot and make it, he shoots and misses, I'm 1-up, and you play until somebody's 2-up. We shot 150 threes before somebody got 2-up.
Wow.
It was an epic battle. I have to admit, I don't like admitting this, but he got me in the end. I had a couple of shots to close him out, but he's one of a kind. Not only a great player, one of the greatest shooters of all time, but just one of the great dudes on planet Earth. Still heavily involved in what we're doing at BYU, which makes it great. But all I got for you guys is balance, elbow, eyes, follow through. Balance, elbow, eyes, follow through. Beef, baby. Let's go.
Love it.
Okay, that one's
That's an easy one to remember.
Taking copious notes here. Outstanding. Jersey patch. Let's talk about BYU recently inked a deal. Share with us the details. And if I understand correctly, this doesn't cover all sports, which leaves the door open for some other sports as you guys look to generate revenue from the jersey patches. That's really a thing catching on across the country.
Yeah. Ari and James, it's something that we feel like everyone else, a new opportunity to have relationships with some of your best companies, best partners out there that are passionate about BYU. We've chosen to break it down 3 ways. So there's a football patch, Entrada. You saw we announced that deal 2-3 weeks ago. Great partners that are going to be football exclusive partners on our patch. We're in final negotiations on men's and women's basketball. And then we just had a great opportunity for our Olympic sports to sign a deal with BYU Continuing Education, which is a group on campus that continues to provide educational opportunities to the world, and wanted to have a relationship with all of our Olympic sports. And so we feel super fortunate at BYU to have incredible companies, incredible relationships internally and externally that make a difference for us. And the best thing about it is everybody wants to do it, to invest in these student athletes, which is exactly what we want to do. For us, it's way bigger than sport. We want to make sure that we're giving opportunities to our student athletes to keep building them, keep lifting them, keep empowering them, because we got to prepare them for life after sport. And we feel like we're partnering with these companies Adam Edmonds is the CEO and of Entrada, and has come to the table and just said, "Hey, we want to make a difference for this football program moving forward." So we feel very grateful.
And how does that? I'm curious for kind of your understanding of the Monster deal. There's been a lot of talk about it over the last 24 to 48 hours, and certainly since it was announced at Big 12 Media Days. Like, what's your perspective and vantage point of this Monster deal with the Big 12?
Well, it's one of the things I love about Commissioner Yormark is he's constantly trying to think outside of the box, constantly trying to build the brand of the Big 12 and all the brands of the schools that are partners in the Big 12. And so to have Monster come to the table, it's created a lot of chatter. But the bottom line, at the end of the day, you're trying to enhance the brand. You're trying to bring partners to the table that are going to make a difference for you. And the thing that I love about Brett now is long game. He's always thinking long game, not short game. Is this certainly a launch into a new platform with these jersey patches? There's no proven commodity. Everyone's coming to the table trying to find the very best thing for their conferences, for their schools, and he came to the table with something that is just the start of something way bigger. And so it'll be exciting to see how that plays out for everyone.
Brian, with the kind of, I guess, deadline, for lack of a better term, looming for the Protect College Sports Act, what were, I guess, some of the highlights or the talking points when the conference athletic directors got together with the commissioner, Brett Yormark, and just what's your take on the bill itself?
Well, first want to express gratitude. We've got ADs and others that are spending a lot of time on the Hill and in Washington, D.C. trying to protect college sports. And I've said it once, I'll say it 100 times. There has to be a path forward that's sustainable. There's got to be a model that's sustainable that kind of brings some order to college athletics. Right now, what it's doing, it's pretty divisive. It's really, really tough to operate when it seems like there are 100 different ways that people are operating. And I'm super excited about the possibility of having some semblance of order and a sustainable model that we can all live with, and put ourselves in a situation where, the water's kind of calm. It's named the Protect College Sports Act for a reason. There's got to be continuity. We've got to give these incredible coaches that we have and student athletes a platform where they have continuity, where they can continue to develop and grow, be mentored by the right people, and certainly with some of the things that are being talked about, I think it's going to bring way more calm to the waters than turbulence.
BYU has finished number 25 in the Learfield Directors Cup for the second straight year, so that's tops in the Big 12 under Brian Santiago, who's joining us here on Big 12 today. How do you balance resources across all sports right now?
Well, that is a great question. There's certainly some, across the country, you can feel it. There's a lot of focus on making sure, it's called revenue share for a reason. We all know that we got to make sure to prioritize football. They lead out, and certainly men's basketball comes into play in a big way. But for us, we want to have a well-balanced. We want to have a well-balanced athletic department. We have a tradition of excellence across all sports. We are motivated to be one of the top teams in the country in the Directors Cup, and certainly being in the top 25 and being at the top of the Big 12 is a big thing for us. It's a tribute to our coaches and to our student athletes, but it's also a tribute to BYU. Over a long period of time, we've tried to focus on broad-based excellence. And what I'm really, really grateful for, and you guys understand this, I'm really, really grateful for Kalani and our football program, and KY, our basketball program, the way they lead out. They're nationally relevant. They do it the BYU way. You all know we're a faith-based institution. That is a huge part of our mission, and we feel like it's a strength for us. We're going to continue to capitalize and focus on the overall person, trying to develop these young men and women into leaders of faith that can go out and change the world when they're done playing, but not at the expense of not being great. And that's what's exciting. Our football team has been right on the cusp of the college football playoff for the last 2 years when really nobody gave us a chance to be there. Incredible. Our basketball program has brought a lot of positive attention to our university, has been nationally competitive and made a good run in the tournament KY's first year, and caught the injury bug a little bit last year, but still unbelievable season with AJ. And so with those two leading out and being excellent, it really drives all of our other programs to be excellent. And certainly you see the success our cross-country programs are having with Ed Eyestone and Diljit Taylor, national champions a couple of years ago. We've got some of the best runners in the world. I could go down the list. Our women's basketball team, Lee Kamard, great first year. We're really excited about the future of BYU athletics.
And with BYU, you know, it feels like BYU is starting to become a brand when it comes to college athletics, and you guys have done a remarkable job of enhancing that. What are some of the kind of strategic things or positioning that you guys work to accomplish when it comes to what is now probably more important than ever, being a big brand in college athletics?
Yeah, our brand is elevated significantly, and it starts with this university. It's one of the great universities in all of the world, and it literally has a fan base, Cougar Nation, that is all over the world. BYU TV, our partnership with the Big 12, and all of our media partners literally give us a platform to bring Cougar Nation together across the planet. The key to everything is making sure you have the right coaches. You got to have the right coaches in the right seats. And we have some of the best coaches in all of sport at BYU, which we're super grateful for. They continue to choose BYU. It's a two-way street, and we're super fortunate to have a history of greatness. And we really feel humbled to stand on the shoulders of some of the greatest administrators, coaches, and players that have ever played the game. We could start throwing out names in every sport, but certainly it starts in football. You've got Hall of Famers across the board. Our basketball team's got Hall of Famers, some of the greatest players. But one of the things that is powerful for BYU as we elevate the brand is those athletes and coaches that have been a part of BYU are still a major part of our network. They're down on the field. They're on the court. They come back. They're very supportive of our players, and it kind of creates this network and a family of greatness that we're going to try to continue to carry on. And so, you know, as we look to elevate our brand, I think any of you that have experienced sports at BYU, you come to LaVelle Edwards Stadium, you're going to have one of the great fan experiences that you'll have in any arena, stadium in the country. You come to the Marriott Center, the fan experience off the chart. We've got great people leading out in BYU athletics, and we're super fortunate to do it in a way that really elevates the brand. And then it comes back to these student athletes. I mean, look, we've got Bear Bachmeyer. You know, there's a bear on the loose in Provo. He came in and in a lot of ways captivated college football last year as a true freshman. Nobody saw that coming in that situation. And AJ DeBonsa coming in, being the Big 12 athlete of the year. We're super excited about that. But as the number one pick in the NBA draft that brought hundreds of millions of viewers through our channels at BYU, with the attention that came, and then to have AJ and Richie Saunders go in the draft was a huge thing for BYU. And so you got Jane Hendrickson, one of the great runners in the world, future Olympian, Kihei Akina, I believe he was the freshman of the year across the country in men's golf. These are all these are all freshmen coming to BYU. So we're super grateful to have kind of a broad-based uh, path to promote the brand of BYU. But make no mistake about it, guys. BYU's brand is elevated in large part because of our entrance into the Big 12, and we're super grateful for that partnership.
Yeah, and the Big 12 as well. So how close was Kalani to leaving? We've read a lot about the rumors this offseason.
Well, at the end of the day, certainly when you're as good as Kalani is as a football coach and as a human being, you're going to have schools coming after you. And at the end of the day, I'm super grateful that he chose BYU. He's got a history at BYU as a player. He certainly has continued to elevate this program to national levels. Really, the last couple of years, it's been phenomenal, and we're just so grateful that he chose BYU. That's a huge, huge, huge thing for somebody that's been at BYU, that loves BYU, to choose BYU when you have a program like Penn State. And there certainly have been others through the years. That's not the first time he's been sought after. But at the end of the day, he chose BYU. He chose these players, and we're super excited about the prospects for our team this year.
Brian Santiago, the athletic director at BYU, thank you so much for visiting with us this morning. Great stuff, and we appreciate you. Take care.
Yeah, you guys have a great day. Thanks for all you do to promote all of our schools and the Big 12. Keep smiling, keep believing. Let's go.
There you go. There you go.
Thanks, Brian.
Brian Santiago does a fantastic job as athletic director of BYU, joining us here on Big 12 Radio to start the show. And away we go. James, how about that? Great stuff from Brian Santiago. Got to talk with him about the Entrada jersey patch for football, the Monster Energy patch and deal and what that means. And there was a lot that he brought up in reference to that. Plus, just how close was BYU to losing Kalani Sitake. We'll recap what we just heard there from the athletic director. Plus, I think there's some things to clear up when it comes to the Monster deal that I seem to be getting lost in. That seems to be getting lost in on social media. All that on the way next with James Amari. We are off and running on a Wednesday. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios.
On 3rd and 12, backside heat, fumbled it, it came out. Ball's on the ground. Cougars recover at the 5. Big hit by Jack Kelly. 3rd and 16. Jordan over the middle again. It's caught by Alvarez, but he's going to be taken down at the 39. It's to the holder. Here's the kick. It's blocked. And BYU trying to run it back here. Jack Kelly, who just made the defensive play. And now he does this. Pressure coming from Kelly. Dampier hit, and down he goes. Jack Kelly may have sealed it for BYU. Inside pressure on Hauser, and he's dropped. Jack Kelly, it was just a matter of time. For the season, getting worked on here. Backside pressure, Hauser feels it, will not get away. And that is number 2 for Jack Kelly. On the draw, dangerously close to being a safety. Micah Ford hit by who else? The ubiquitous, ever-present Jack Kelly. Salter flushed out, being spotted, dragged down at the 38-yard line by Jack Kelly.
Back inside Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio, but exclusively on TuneIn. You're watching us on Big 12 Studios. We are powered by Modelo. Exclusively on TuneIn. He's Taman Turner. I'm James Westling, producer Will in the house, as we go around the horn with all the athletic directors from the Big 12 member institutions out to Lubbock, Texas today to welcome in Kirby Hocutt, the AD with Texas Tech. And Kirby, let's not bury the lead here in that you were a 4-year letterman at my alma mater, Kansas State, back in the 90s. You led the Big 8 in tackles as a junior in 1993. You were part of the all-conference team, the all-league team. So you were also a team captain, which means you've been telling people what to do for the last 30 years. But what are some of your fondest memories about your time in Manhattan?
You're going way back on me.
Way back.
There, James, way back. Nothing but great memories. I was so fortunate to be a part of Coach Snyder's first stint at Kansas State. I believe part of his second recruiting class there, but was surrounded by a lot of great teammates who are still some of my best friends in the world, and learned so many life lessons. Coach Snyder was teaching us life lessons through football back in those days. We didn't realize it at the time, but as you reflect back now, you realize just the enormous impact that he had on our journeys and our lives and careers. And, he had one of the greatest lessons from Coach Snyder was just you have to surround yourself with great people to be successful. And you think back to his staff at that time with Bob Stoops, Mike Stoops, Jim Levitt, Dale Miller, Dana Dimmel, great coaches. But thank you for mentioning that, James. I don't want to go down that pathway, but great memories, and so thankful to have been part of Coach Snyder's journey and the great things he did at Kansas State.
Hey, I'm here for it. We can go down that path all day. The other thing, like the parallels that I see from your time at K-State and now at Texas Tech is just what football has meant to the entire community. Like anytime I'm out in Lubbock, there's new stuff everywhere. It's just a blossoming destination. And Manhattan was kind of the same way. Like pre-Snyder, there wasn't a lot there, and it's completely different now.
It's such a great point that you make. Just the importance and the role that college football in particular, college athletics on more of a broad sense, plays for our communities within our states throughout the Big 12. And you just hit on how important it is to our communities for pride, for commercial development, for alumni cultivation and development for our universities. There's nothing quite like it. And, a successful football program can lift an entire university. It can raise an entire university. And, there are a lot of parallels there. And if you go back to Texas Tech, obviously Spike Dykes through the years brought so much pride and success to Texas Tech football. Mike Leach took it to an entirely different level, and that's what we're trying to do today, is to take it even further to the top of the national stage and competing at the highest level. And the attention, the exposure that's brought to Texas Tech and to Lubbock, Texas has been exceptional.
Kirby, I want to piggyback off of that because the USA Today coaches poll just came out yesterday, and it has Texas Tech ranked at number 12. Personally, I believe that's a little too low. Wanted to get your thoughts on where the Red Raiders are ranked.
As fans this time of year, we all love to look at that first ranking and poll when it comes out, and you see it and you think, yes, I agree with you, Taman. We should have been ranked higher, but we've got 12 games in front of us to prove that we belong higher. The guys reported yesterday. A lot of energy around the stadium, around the building. They've had an incredible summer. The workouts have been exceptional. The team building that Coach McGuire is the best at has continued to excel this summer. So, that first poll caught all of our attentions yesterday. We looked at it. Everybody talked about it. But it's going to be a fun season ahead.
Kirby Hocutt is the AD at Texas Tech, joining us here on Big 12 Radio and Big 12 Studios. you guys just landed a monster deal with stadium naming rights, Galaxy. This is a huge headline for Texas Tech and for the conference because it's just really cool to see a member institution doing something like this. So my question, do we still call it the Jones, and how's that all going to be repositioned?
You know, a lot of people don't realize that the Jones name came from the third president at Texas Tech. President Jones was the third president, was a successful business person in West Texas and in Lubbock, was appointed by the governor as one of the first Board of Regent members for Texas Tech. And when the presidency at Tech became open at that time, they asked him to step away from being a board of director and accept the president's position. And he did that. At that time, you know, we were bringing our football program forward. He made a $100,000 gift at that time to help with the construction of the football stadium. So it was named Jones Stadium. And times have changed, and our fan base recognizes that we've got to continue to be proactive and play offense. We were so fortunate that we've been able to engage Galaxy, who's going to be a great partner of Texas Tech and Texas Tech athletics as we move forward. And I think, you know, even more broader than just naming of our football stadium, I think we'll see them integrate with our university at many different levels. With that being said, we have 4 guiding principles, and one is to respect the past and to invent the future. So with Galaxy, we're inventing the future. There's a lot of exciting opportunities ahead of us with that partnership. At the same time, we want to respect the past and President Jones and his legacy here at Texas Tech. So I think we've got a very cool, a very exciting initiative to announce before the season starts as to how we're going to continue to recognize President Jones within the footprint of the football stadium, something that I think our student body and campus will really be excited to learn about. So unfortunately, I can't announce it quite yet, but we're excited about that idea to continue to honor President Jones' legacy here at Texas Tech.
Man, that's great to hear. You guys are on it. That sounds awesome.
Kirby, I know, and I know you know this very well, the story that dominated the offseason was Brendan Sorsby. How has the Texas Tech athletic program, how has it moved forward? How has it continued to move forward? And how do the fans feel about the whole process that happened over the summer?
Yeah, I'm not sure we have enough time to really go through all of the aspects of that question. You know, it was an interesting summer. It was a challenging summer. Most importantly, I'm proud of this football program. They kept their focus. They kept their energies focused on, you know, football being the main thing and their workouts and coming together as a team. I will say this at the beginning too. Brendan Sorsby is a very talented young man. I really enjoyed the opportunity to get to know him. He's obviously a young person who's made mistakes, and I always believe that it's our responsibilities to pick those young people up and to learn life lessons and to help them move forward. I hope Brendan will continue with his recovery with his addiction and have a great career in the National Football League beginning next season. It could be a great success story. You know, it became a very complex and difficult situation very quickly with the judges ruling here in West Texas. You know, a lot of people think it was a Lubbock judge. It was not a Lubbock judge. It was a judge that lives in Fort Worth, a retired judge there. And, you know, once Brendan retained counsel on his own, once the judge made a ruling, it became a very difficult situation for everybody. Obviously, there was a lot of conversation nationally. And I understand that the situation put my colleagues, put the Big 12 in a very uncomfortable and difficult position. And I understand that. At the same time, I don't believe everyone understood just how complicated and complex the situation was here at Texas Tech. Did we manage it the very best? Probably not. We did the best we could at that moment in time with this young man front and center. And so, you know, it became very complex very quickly on us. We did the best we could. I think our fan base understands that. They understand we're always going to put our students first, and we're always going to do our very best to do the right thing each and every day. I can look everyone in the eye and say we did that with the best we could given the set of circumstances that we had, and we're going to move forward. And this is a very talented football team. We're extremely fortunate. We got a unbelievable leader and young man in Will Hammond, who's QB1 now for us. And this football program, this athletics program is going to be just fine. We're going to continue to invest. We're going to continue to play offense, and we're going to continue to compete at the national level.
Talking with Kirby Hocutt, the Texas Tech AD here on Big 12 Today, I think that's a tremendous way to frame that as a learning experience. And like Taman said, moving forward, when it comes to everything surrounding Texas Tech, what you said a moment ago about the stadium naming rights deal with Galaxy, you said it was very, forward-thinking and could lead to more opportunities for them to be involved at a much deeper level. Do you see the Big 12's deal with Monster Energy kind of in the same light in terms of this could just be the beginning and there's a ton more potential than maybe what's on the surface?
Well, I think if you step back just from the Monster Energy deal and you look at what Commissioner Yormark continues to initiate and bring forward to our conference, he challenges our way of thinking. He pushes us into different areas where maybe we're not comfortable or not traditional with college athletics. But I don't know if we can talk about tradition anymore because there's been so much change and there's going to be so much change ahead. So, I respect and applaud Commissioner Yormark for bringing opportunities forward like that. It's conference assets that existed that we would not capitalize financially on without Brett bringing those initiatives and opportunities forward. It's received some positive exposure, some less than positive exposure. There could be some things that some of us wish were done a little differently. But that being said, as proud members of this Big 12 conference, we move forward and support those initiatives that the commissioner brings forward, and all in the spirit of growing revenue, all in the spirit of being competitive nationally and setting ourselves up to win national championships, and that's what this conference has to do. We need to continue to get teams, multiple teams is what we need to do into the college football playoff. We need to win games in the college football playoff. We need to win a championship. We need to win another basketball national championship in this conference. So anything that we can do to generate revenue is a positive thing.
Kirby, final one for me. It's about basketball. A two-part question. How is JT Toppin doing? And then the second part is, I am a Hofstra alum, so I'm proud to watch Cruz Davis this year. How do you feel about him?
Yeah, there's a lot of excitement about Cruz. We feel very excited that we were able to get him here to Lubbock, Texas, and Texas Tech, and think that Coach McCaslin's putting together an incredible roster. So much of that for this season and as we move forward could depend on JT Toppin. You look at that young man, a National Player of the Year candidate last year before he got hurt at Arizona State. JT's just such a talented young man. He's a young man that we have seen grow personally and as an athlete and as a leader within this basketball program. JT has so many great qualities. He's a very humble, a very quiet young man who does so many things behind the scenes to positively impact our community that I wish more people knew about. Every Thanksgiving, JT on his own will do a turkey giveaway. He partners with the 100 Black Men of West Texas. He doesn't want any promotion. He doesn't want any accolades for doing that. But JT does multiple things like that throughout the course of the year. Obviously, he's coming back from a knee injury. His rehabilitation continues to go well. We've got one of the best trainers in all of basketball, and Mike Neal, and Mike's done a great job. He and JT have been working nonstop, and all of our hope is that JT is going to continue to make progress, and we'll see him on the basketball court at some point this season.
Yeah, cannot wait. Kirby Hocutt, the athletic director at Texas Tech, the ultimate decision maker for the Red Raiders. Everybody wants just 5 minutes with the AD, and you gave us 20. So thank you so much, and we'll catch up with you again soon.
Yeah, guns up. Good talking to you guys.
See you, Kirby.
Thanks, Kirby.
Kirby Hocutt, the AD at Texas Tech, with us here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios. Coming up next, it is a Power Ranking Wednesday. This is Big 12 Today, exclusively on TuneIn, powered by Modelo.
Play fake. Hammond, sideline, back shoulder. Virgil twist to grab it. And in a hurry, Texas Tech is right in front of Arizona State. 6 on the left-hand side, starting his 50th game this afternoon. Looking long, it's Virgil. He's got it inside the 15. He beat Henderson again. But the defense with him. There he is. But it's a deep ball. Left sideline, dropping it right in for Virgil. Oh, what a ball from Darren Martin. To corral those defenders, they do a good job there. Reverse, Virgil. Reverse. There goes Virgil. Oh yeah. A hop, skip, and a jump touchdown. Would be on tackle. Last year, South Carolina chance to bring him down. Takes a shot. And right back to grab it. It's Virgil. One out of bounds. State forcing 3rd and 12. Hammonds throws over the middle, completed to Reggie. Virgil's got the first down, still on his feet. And Virgil is going to take it inside the 35. Goal. Morton with all kinds of time. Virgil! Reggie! Oh my goodness, what's happened to Virgil today? Hammond, they throw it up top again. Now they're showing off. Touchdown, Reggie Virgil.
Back here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. Our proud title sponsor is Modelo. There is no off-season. The off-season only means research. And on a Power Ranking Wednesday, Taman, do you know what we say about power rankings?
You know what? It's funny. I can totally understand why you get flustered when Ari says it. Something about power ranking in this world, something.
It's not good enough in life to just have things. You have to power rank
them
them
accordingly. Correct.
That's what we do
I was
on Wednesdays.
totally not close.
I finally remembered. After 2.5 years, I remembered on the one Wednesday that Ari's not here.
Of course.
To hear me do it.
The next time I do a power ranking with you on a Wednesday, I'm going to remember it.
All right, Will. So welcome to the show with Power Rankings. We do big voice, so you've got to introduce the topic and then number 5. And then we'll go through 5 to 1, okay?
This isn't my first rodeo.
Oh, he knows. He knows.
I know what I'm
rodeo
doing.
line. That's a rodeo.
All right. Number 5.
Number 5, but you didn't say what we're power ranking.
Okay.
Somebody
Well,
just got hogtied.
oh,
Somebody just got hogtied.
No, I know what we're power ranking. We're power ranking the top 5 uniforms in the Big 12 Conference.
That is it.
That is it. And we know James Westling is going first. So number 5.
All right, number 5 for me. So many great looks in the Big 12, and a lot of teams I would say got snubbed because we could only rank 5. But at number 5 for me, I go with the Kansas Jayhawks. People either love or they hate KU's look. I love it. It is criminally underrated. Nice, clean block font. You've got stripes. You've got a billion different color combos. You can go red. You can go royal blue. You can go black. The black alternate is one of a kind. They've got the traditional helmet. Then they've got like the bold alternate with the giant Jayhawk head on each side. I'm a huge fan of KU's look. I love what Adidas has done. I've got KU at number 5.
Number 5 for me is the Kansas State Wildcats. And I will tell you why, because I'm very biased, James Westling, and you made me a fan of their uniforms because you told me they were made after my Dallas Cowboys. I could not have them be in my top 5 if they're emulating the Dallas Cowboys, my favorite NFL football team. So yeah, number 5, they are just like the Dallas Cowboys, only in purple. I'm taking it. Let's go Wildcats.
And that's a true
Emaw.
That's a true story. Bill Snyder said, I want something that looks recognizable when people watch us on television. Dallas Cowboys, they were America's team. So he said, I want the uniforms to look exactly like the Cowboys.
When you told me that story, I'm like, automatic like.
All right.
4.
I think your voice is better.
4.
Yeah, I'm going to go.
Yeah, your voice is way better, Will.
We are power ranking uniforms for those that just joined us, right? James Westling, Taman Turner, number 4.
All right, number 4 for me is where I have Colorado. The black and gold is just almost impossible to mess up. And UCF shares the same color palette, but Colorado's like chrome gold helmets, to me, remain one of the best in all of college football. Everything Colorado with the way they design their uniforms just looks expensive. They've got the chrome face mask. They've got all of it. And Coach Prime didn't like completely overhaul. He just raised the bar when it comes to Colorado's traditional look. So I'm going with Colorado at number 4.
Number 4 for me is the BYU Cougars, and this is a personal story for me. James, as I'm showing you my laptop, what do you see?
I see a lot of blue, royal blue. It's a ton of royal blue.
You know what? That royal blue is from my high school, Hall High School in West Hartford, Connecticut.
That's not BYU.
That is not BYU. That is exactly like mine. I'm going number 4. BYU reminds me of my hometown team, the West Hartford Hall High now Titans, formerly the Warriors. I'm going with BYU number 4.
3.
All right, number 3 for me, this is where I have Texas Tech. I love Texas Tech's look. And for me, it's not all the fancy alternates. The Patrick Mahomes combo that they wear a couple of times a year. The throwback logo, it looks okay, but to me, it's just the regular. They can go all white. They can go red top. They can go a black uniform. Matte black done right. The Red Raider red pops on that uniform. I love the stripes. I love the new logo that they've introduced just this past year, mid-season. They went back to more of the throwback look, Huge fan of what Texas Tech has going on.
Number 3 for me is great minds think alike. Wreck 'em. I am going with the Texas Tech Red Raiders for the exact same reasons that you just expressed. The red and black, the alternates, the home, the away. I mean, they are both, all of their jerseys are really great. I'm a big fan of red and black. I don't know if you noticed, I have some red and black Air Jordan 1s that I wear very regularly that will work very well with the Texas Tech uniform. I'm going with number 3, Wreck 'em.
2.
It is the best color combo in sports. Number 2 for me.
2.
Thank you, Robot Will. Number 2 for me is Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State, maybe not now, but at least 10 years ago, they had more color combinations and uniform combinations than anybody in America not named Oregon. Okay, they were very much at the forefront of that. By far, America's best use of the color orange, pairing it with black. And then that script, like Cowboys helmet, that's an all-timer to me. They can also throw the throwback Pistol Pete logo up there. I love a traditional like jersey with an extra bold helmet, and that's what Oklahoma State is to me. And I think they have a brand that is instantly recognizable from all the success under Mike Gundy.
I do like it. It was my sleeper for me. I was debating it with number 5, but that's a good one. That's a good one. Number 2 for me is Cincinnati. I love that. They are an Air Jordan Nike brand. I love their red, white, and black. You know, I'm a big fan of that. I think their jerseys, like when they're at Nippert Stadium and they have that black and red, I love it. I love it. I mean, what's the hate? And the Bearcat, I mean, it represents it well because the Bearcat's black and he's wearing the red and they all go down together. I mean, what's the dislike? I think I have Cincinnati at number 2.
We've gotten to the final one. Number 1, drum roll. I know we talked a lot about social media. We're going to post both of your favorites to social media at the teams and see if they'll send you each a jersey. So drum roll, please.
Let's go.
Number 1.
All right, number 1 for me is where I have BYU. BYU's football uniforms, they are the white T-shirt of college football. Simple, but somehow perfect. The royal blue is just one of the best colors in college football. There's no like unnecessary gimmicks. They did introduce the Sailor Cougar helmet, which was sick. They've got a chrome helmet. It's timeless. It looks timeless now. It looked timeless 20 years ago. I love that they brought back like the mid-90s throwback all white look that they wear at home sometimes. BYU checks in at number 1. They can go royal blue. They can go navy. It's still blue.
I love that because, again, it reminds me of my high school because my high school is the same way. But although I love my high school, number 1 is, for me, prime time. Deion Sanders, Colorado Buffaloes. You guys been number 1 for me. I love the black and gold. I think it's literally an incredible combo together. And I don't care if you're wearing your black. I don't care if you're wearing your white. The gold in and of itself, it's amazing. I also have some Air Jordan 1s that are also black, white, and gold, so it works perfectly with their uniforms. I love it. Coach Prime, send me that jersey. I'll wear it proudly.
This is why I love this segment, because I did not some in my top 5 that I thought were just mortal locks. You guys, it didn't even come close for you guys.
Like who?
So everyone has opinions. I mean, Utah.
Yeah.
Utah's phenomenal. I like certain Baylor looks look really clean to me. Okay. Arizona State, and then West Virginia can sometimes come out in a big way. So that's why it's all subjective. I hope you guys get those jerseys, though.
All right, what is our random? We'll have to do this like speed dating style. What is our random thing we're power ranking today?
Speed dating style. We are ranking our top 5 sports statues, and you may ask why. Well, it was on this day that the construction of the Statue of Liberty began. Not today, but back in the
I think
1800s.
1800s.
We got that.
Yes, number 5.
All right, I can't wait to see how you did this. My sports statues are guys that played like they were a statue. Okay, so number 9 for me is Tim Duncan. Dude was a baller. Never rushed, never flashy, just fundamentally perfect. If Vanilla Ice Cream won 5 national NBA championships, it would be Tim Duncan. He is the man. He checks in at number 5.
Number 5 for me, I'm biased. Tom Landry at AT&T Stadium. The infamous, famous hat with the arms crossed, wearing the suit. Coaches don't do that today. That is definitely number 5.
Number 4.
Number 4 for me, David Ortiz. feared by pitchers, feared by no stopwatch. Slow, big, but could crush it. David Ortiz, number 5.
Number four for me is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. The Skyhook. Have you been to Staples Center, now called Crypto.com Arena? The Skyhook statue is absolutely incredible. That's number 4 for me.
Number 3, Shaq. Shaquille O'Neal. In transition, he looked like a freight train. Slow to get there, but unstoppable once he did. That guy would camp out in the lane. He was unguardable from 10 feet in. Shaq, number 3.
Number 3 for me is Shaq. Great minds think alike. If you go to Staples Center, also known as Crypto.com Arena in Los Angeles, California, when he's literally slamming it and the rim, the backboard is coming down, can't get any more incredible than that.
All right, number 2. Number 2 for me is Prince Fielder, first baseman, ginormous. It's the GOAT of, I will let this ball bounce off my glove and I'll do it with dignity.
Oh, man. I have thoughts on Prince Fielder, former Texas Ranger, by the way. Number 2 for me is the GOAT, the greatest basketball player of all time, Michael Jeffrey Jordan. If you go to the United Center in Chicago, Illinois, the flying dunk man, Michael Jordan, the greatest, the GOAT. He's number 2 for me.
Number 1. All right, number 1 for me is a guy that played the quarterback position. And every time he left the pocket, he looked like he was trying to run through wet cement. Peyton Manning, number 1.
He's pretty GOAT stat.
As unmobile as any quarterback to ever play the game, but through absolute darts. The ultimate statue.
Number 1 for me is my favorite, my personal GOAT, the man who helped me fall in love with sports, Dirk Nowitzki. If you go to downtown Dallas right now, right outside the American Airlines Center, he has a statue fading away. It says, "Loyalty never fades away." He played 21 seasons with the Mavericks. He helped me become the sports fan that I am today. Number 1, Dirk Nowitzki. Thank you so much for doing what you did for the city of Dallas and my fandom. That's number 1 for me.
He's a huge fan of the show, too.
He is.
Yeah. Street named after him as well. The statue will have to move, though.
All right, that is our Power Rankings segment. Coming up next, we head down to Waco. A couple more ADs will join us next hour. Doug McNamee, the new AD at Baylor, and Eddie Nunez, the AD at Houston, back-to-back coming up around the corner. This is Big 12 Today, brought to you by Modelo here on TuneIn and on the Big 12 Fast Channel, Big 12 Studios.
Robertson spins one, 4th down, got it! Senior to senior. Robertson spins one, 4th down, got it! Rush up the middle, Robertson spins one, 4th down, got it! From the mesh point, he pulls, he shoots, box for a touchdown, Josh Cameron. Bowl eligibility on the line, and they go to Josh Cameron, as you said, to start and to cap in classes in the ESPN 300. Robertson, and so that is caught by Cameron. Flag down, you hear Cameron barking and one. I mean, Josh Cameron on the outside, one-on-one. I mean, you got guys straight all the way on him. You mentioned it. Does he have full possession of the football? Now, he has possession immediately, but watch the ball move here. He's already got being at 70%. He's going to get the catch. I mean, Josh Cameron on the outside, one-on-one. I mean, you got guys straight all the way on him. You mentioned it.
Play fake, one-on-one coverage, jump ball, flag is out, hits hauled in. Josh Cameron.
This is what we talked about earlier in impact players. He's our guy that they throw the fade to. You see it right here?
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. Heard exclusively on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios alongside T-Chains, Taman Turner. I'm James Westling, and we welcome in a couple of ADs this hour. And now we head down to Waco, Texas. The newest athletic director in the Big 12 is Doug McNamee, and he joins us here on Big 12 today, live on the program. Doug, nice to finally meet you because I was absent from Big 12 spring meetings. And I guess going into like the interview process with Baylor, you probably had 2 or 3 things that hired. What were those items, and where are you at just in terms of the process?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm a seasoned veteran. Fernando Lovo at Colorado has me beat by about a week in terms of newness. So I'm 15th on the longest tenured at Big 12 athletic director, thanks to Fernando. So I got to keep that out there. But yeah, I really put 3 commitments in terms of what we focus on. In this order, it was fan, funding, and football. And that strategic in that order for a reason. I really felt a need for us to reconnect and to remind ourselves why we're here and who we're here to serve in regards to the fan. Obviously, in college athletics right now, funding is the name of the game. You need resources, and then we would be lying to ourselves if we didn't acknowledge the stakes that football carries in every college athletic department, especially in the Big 12 and a Power 4 institution. And we certainly need to, after last year's season, rebound in a positive way. So those were the 3 initiatives. How we're doing on it, I'll probably say let's see where we are in about a month when we kick off. I guess we're a month away, but really on the first 2 pieces, really encouraged, very optimistic in terms of the response, the connection. Now we need to just go out and deliver the commitment that we've promised to our fans, and then with that, I think the funding will ultimately flow as well too.
Doug, piggyback off of that, you guys have spent some money to bring in some guys to really help this football program. You guys brought in Joe Klanderman as your defensive coordinator. You guys brought in DJ Lagway as your quarterback. Now with those guys being a part of the Baylor family, what expectations do you guys have now moving forward with Dave Aranda still at the helm, and what do you guys expect to see this season?
Is so impressed and so appreciative of Coach Aranda's foresight to make a move. He ultimately moved himself out of D.C. and made himself just isolated as a head coach, and I think that was a very wise decision. He's proven as a CEO with strong coordinators what he can do in the past, and I think he found an absolute winner in Joe Klanderman. I mean, I think we were exceptionally fortunate to have gotten him. If you look at where all K-State's guys from defense last year ended up, I mean, they're top-tier guys across the country, and they were a hot commodity, and a lot of those guys came in as 3-star, 2-star type players, and I think Joe Klanderman was a big part of coaching those guys up. So really, really pumped about the defense. DJ Lagway, special story. He's a legacy. I watched his dad play coming to games, and so he's always held a connection to Baylor. He took a recruiting visit even when he was the number 1 recruit in the country from a quarterback perspective, and kept us in contention until he ultimately selected Florida. And it's a special story for him to have a chance to come back home, and both sides need each other. I think DJ needs Baylor, and Baylor certainly needs a DJ, and a DJ at his best. So really excited, with practice kicking off here in actually about 30 minutes here in Waco, just to get to see him get after it.
Doug, you were the president at one time of Magnolia, Chip and Joanna Gaines Company. Did the same at Field and Stream, which is backed by like Eric Church and Morgan Wallen. So with that like brand and media executive skill set, how is that translated to athletics? From what I've read from your press conference, like you wanted this Baylor AD job for a long time. It's a passion of yours, this program and that community. So which set of skills have translated the most?
Well, two things. First of all, I would say, had I stayed in college athletics for the last 8 years, I have no doubt I would not be prepared for this job like I have been, having had that chance to leave and get that experience at 2 different media companies. Two themes come to mind. First of all, especially with this most recent venture, it was a startup. We had to go raise the money, had to go find the funds to go buy the assets, and you got to go in and ask people and look them in the eye and tell them and paint a vision for what you think that you're going to do. And oftentimes, and it was our case with startup as well, but we didn't get enough money at the first go, so you got to go back to them and ask for more money. And that's pretty that's pretty comparable to the environment that we're in right now, and sometimes your return delivers pretty quickly, and most times it takes more than what you originally expect. So I think in the environment that we are currently operating, that has certainly helped prepare me, and also the emotional piece where, when you're asking for someone else's money, you feel a greater sense of pressure and responsibility than if it's your own. Like I think a lot of people would say this, but I definitely would have a heck of a lot easier time wasting or losing my own money as compared to somebody else's, because there's an emotional weight that you carry when you're in that spot. The second thing I'd say that's common both from athletics but into those two media entities is there's an emotional connection associated with those brands. And people talk about, or the entertainment industry, or in the hospitality industry. Here's what I know: we're in the memory creation industry, and I can speak from a personal standpoint. The emotional connections that I have to family members, both that are here and both that have moved on, and it's often centered around sports. And so that's what we get to do. And we had that pleasure with two media companies that really resonated with people in a deep emotional connection. But that's what college athletics is about. And there's people that are going to walk into our stadium, a month from today, and they're going to make a memory that's going to last a lifetime. And we all have the honor and privilege to get to be in the business that produces those moments.
Doug, what's your relationship like with Brett Yormark? And can you explain your thoughts on the Monster Energy deal and how it affects Baylor?
Yeah, well, unsurprisingly, there's definitely a connection there, because I would say he was an outside-the-box candidate and came from, the media industry and worked in professional sports. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that initially when he was hired was like, who and what's the connection to college athletics? And then you understand, what he's done. And so I certainly think his candidacy for the Big 12 and his success was helpful for me personally in my own experience to get this opportunity. He's gonna go out and he's going to disrupt, and he's going to challenge status quo, and he's not going to be afraid to miss, and that's the courage and the willingness that successful leaders operate under. And he's hit a lot more than he's missed as a leader for us. And I just say that specific to the Monster Energy deal, a lot of mischaracterization of what that deal is and comparisons that are just not apples to oranges. And so appreciative of his efforts, his willingness to disrupt, to go challenge, to go find funds that aren't on the table for us otherwise. And I'll also say the thing that people miss a lot of times, especially when they're comparing to other deals, you don't know the other value, the additional value that's associated with the partnership beyond just what looks like a top line dollar amount. There's extra opportunity and brand association that comes along with that, and it's reciprocal and has to be for both sides. So I would just say appreciative, and grateful for both his efforts on that specifically, but for all he's doing for us as a conference.
Yeah, Doug, what do you think the biggest misconceptions are about the Monster Energy deal?
A biggest one is just that it's gonna prohibit us from getting our own school deals, and we've got numerous Big 12 schools that have already announced theirs. We're deep in multiple conversations, and so these comparisons to other conferences and their individual school deals is just not relevant. Those are two different conversations. The inventory that was monetized in that is Big 12 inventory, and Brett made a decision on behalf of the conference that he felt like it was valuable to essentially share that real estate with a third party in exchange for compensation to our schools and co-branding with our schools. And so that's the biggest one. We still have the opportunity as Kansas, West Virginia, Oklahoma State, there's BYU, there's numerous schools that have announced it, and we'll have a great partner on there as well soon. But we're all still able to do that, and they're a big national brand with a huge marketing budget that will also cross-promote the Big 12 as part of the partnership.
We're live here with Baylor AD Doug McNamee, live here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. Doug, I want to pivot over to basketball. You have a proven winning head coach in Scott Drew. What are the expectations for the Baylor basketball program this season?
Yeah, it's an interesting time. Coach Drew is a dear friend. I owe my introduction to my wife to Coach Drew, and an interesting position, because as a Baylor fan, you see a Coach Drew in just a kind of a legendary status. What he's done and what he was able to do here just puts him in a unique position in terms of any Baylor fans, all-time appreciation, and I'm no different. And so now to pop into a seat, he was a longtime friend, now to pop in a seat that I have now, at a time, candidly, where it's been tough. He's experienced so much success that any challenge, any not making the tournament is seen around here as a great disappointment, whereas before he got here, that was the standard that we operate under. So Coach is also challenged by the NIL environment because he's so good at relationships. He's so good at going out and finding guys, redshirting them, developing. If you look at that 21 national championship team, you got a lot of fourth-year and fifth-year guys who have been redshirted. And unfortunately, the game has changed where it's year by year, and that's been an adjustment for Coach. I think he's made it very well over these last few months and over the last few years, and gotten himself. First and foremost, I'm excited about the staff that he's assembled. He brought back Jerome Tang. He's got Jake Lindsey on that staff. There's a former player that played for us in the 21 and 22 years, and 23. It's just a really respected, great player. Came from working in the NBA front office, and Jonathan Chamo-Chachua. And he's just put a great staff together. So I'm very optimistic. I think the roster is strong, but at this point, everyone assessing the people that do preseason rankings on basketball. None of these guys have played together anywhere. How are we making those assessments? But we feel really good. And then I have a really great appreciation for Nikki Collin and our women's basketball program. A really tough spot for someone like her to step in following a legendary Hall of Fame coach like Kim Mulkey. And I think she's done exceptionally well, maintained a level of excellence. We certainly want to get back to the Sweet 16 and Final Four on a regular basis, but really proud of our women's program and very optimistic, just like we've been the last few years. We're going to be at the top, fight for a Big 12 championship in that sport as well, too.
Doug, I love the comp that you made with kind of your track record of success and Commissioner Yormark before he became the commissioner at the Big 12, leaning on that media side and entertainment and brand awareness and all of those different characteristics. So in today's era of college sports, in your opinion, how do you see sports coexisting with the entertainment value and the brand value, and just how much those two worlds have now collided?
For sure. I mean, we have to understand, for almost all of us, the number one input from a revenue source is our media contracts. And that is a complicated space that's seeing significant disruption and challenges every day as well. And, we have to face that. We've got to prepare ourselves to be the most attractive, desirable media platform we possibly can to continue to grow our revenues. And not only the monetization of it, but we also need to acknowledge, as we relate to our university, our mission at Baylor Athletics is to support Baylor University. It's not complex. We want to give Baylor University more visibility because we think it's exceptional student experience, and the more that Baylor Athletics can promote it, the better. But the media platform gives us a chance to tell our story for the university. So it's an opportunity, it's a platform, but it's also a massive revenue stream for us, and we just have to be very thoughtful. What creates compelling entertainment? Because that's what's going to drive. Viewership is essential. As we talk about attendance, that's important. But I'll tell you, the one chart that sits right in front of my desk right here is our viewership in football last year. And we got to get more people watching Baylor football specifically, because I owe it to Brett Yormark in the Big 12 Conference to deliver more eyeballs, because we need that for the next media contract. So that's what it's all about, and how we need to be focused as an institution, but as a conference as well, too.
Well, I just want to add before we let you go, as somebody who has announced games for television networks in Waco at Baylor, and I know a ton of announcers feel the same way. You guys have an elite TV, full production control room. It is amazing.
Wow, I appreciate that. I give a lot of credit to our previous administration and Mac Rhodes and our president. They did invest, and it's, as I learned, James, I didn't know enough to really understand it, but in some of my early trips over there, to see the control rooms and the ability for the big networks of the world to come in and send a light crew because they can run everything out of that. Really proud of that, and I think from a conference standpoint, we're proud to be a leader for the Big 12 in terms of the way that the games are actually produced for our media partners.
Yeah, it's an incredible product. Doug, so nice to meet you. Thank you for your time, and
hey,
enjoy the rest of your
later?
day.
What Big 12 AD is coming out a little bit later? I want to know who's following me, and make sure we can give him some grief.
Okay, Eddie Nunez, Houston.
Okay, all right, good deal. Well, please give him grief for me, and I love Eddie. You got a good one coming on, so thanks for giving me time, and I'm glad I'm going first instead of having to follow Eddie.
There you go. For the record, technically you were second. We had Kirby right before you.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, you should have told me that. You got two good ones right there. I love our Texas Big 12 partners in those guys. And Mike Buddy's another good one. I wish I didn't like that guy so much. It would be much easier to dislike Mike Buddy, but he's a good one as well too.
Yeah, it's a Texas tour today.
That's right.
Great to see you, Doug. Thank you so
guys.
much.
Anytime.
All right.
Enjoy
Thank you, Doug. Appreciate it.
The Baylor Athletic Director, Doug McNamee, joining us here on Big 12 Today. on Big 12 Radio. Some really, really insightful stuff from just the way he views college athletics, and Baylor's got a good one in Doug, no doubt.
Yeah, they got it right. They got a green light with Doug. He is a gem. We've had two really good ADs coming up, and I know we have Eddie Nunez coming up in about 10 minutes. But, man, it has been a phenomenal. We got a lot out of both Kirby and both Doug. And let me ask you this. What were your biggest takeaways from each AD?
Oh, man. So I thought the way that Kirby Hocutt outlined the Brendan Sorsby off-season saga was really enlightening, because he was very, I thought, transparent about just how quickly that snowballed, and how Texas Tech, in my opinion, based off what he told us, really didn't have a lot of time to come up with a PR strategy to navigate that situation. And I love transparency and vulnerability, and he was not afraid to say, yeah, we'd probably do some things differently, while at the same time having nothing but tremendous things to say about Brendan Sorsby as a person. So that stood out to me. And then just their line of thinking with the Galaxy Stadium naming rights and the potential for Galaxy to be even more involved with the university. It's already a $75 million deal. So the potential on top of that, man, big time out in Lubbock.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I very much enjoyed his respect that he has for Brendan Sorsby, but also his respect that he has for his program and things they could have done differently. And sometimes in the moment, it can be very difficult to maneuver things. And you look back on it and say, hey, we could have done this or we could have done that. And Kirby Hocutt admitted that. But having respect for Joey McGuire and what he's done, having respect for Brendan Sorsby and what he has done, and having respect for his future endeavors. For Doug McNamee, I really liked what he brought up about the Monster Energy deal. How there's this notion, this perception that the schools can't also, do stuff outside of the deal, and that's just simply not true. I mean, and he gives respect for Yormark kind of being a boxer, kind of going at it, taking on what's been the norms and kind of bringing out these new ideas, and I think that's great for Baylor, and I also think it's great for the Big 12.
The individual schools can still have jersey patches, on-field, on-court branding from other partners that, sure, it's not going to be the equivalent of the value that Monster Energy is bringing to the conference, but for that individual school, it's actually going to be more. So that's on top of the Monster Energy deal, or the Monster Energy deal is on top of the individual school revenue that was just sitting there, the opportunity. It was a wide open space.
Right. 100% agree. And I love how Doug kind of broke that down. And I also liked, how he talked a little bit about basketball too, because he has enormous respect for Scott Drew, who he gave us a little story. He introduced him to his wife. But when Baylor won in 2021, there were some expectations that grew, and they want to rebuild this basketball program to the prominence that Baylor fans kind of saw during that season. And he talked about what the Scott Drew has done with the coaching staff, bringing back Jerome Tang, who was enormous to help Baylor win that championship. So I really think that Doug McNamee has been he came in at a very difficult time for Baylor, and I think that he, being a Baylor alum, knowing this program, knowing kind of working with college athletics but also working away from college athletics, gives him a perspective that is really unique in a way that I think is a perfect fit for Baylor University.
Yeah, very well said. Really like it. Doug McNamee, the new AD at Baylor, was our last guest. We will take a break, and we will kind of set the table for Eddie Nunez, who joins us at the bottom of the hour, the AD at Houston. Houston preseason ranked in the top 25 of the USA Today coaches poll that came out yesterday. Men's basketball, loaded roster for Kelvin Sampson. Eddie Nunez will be with us here in about 6 minutes. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. We are brought to you, powered by Modelo here on TuneIn.
Tight end in motion. And a quick slant again that's caught, and look out. Kobe Prentice, his second catch of the early hours of this one in the evening.
Yards. The one miscue. Oh, no miscue there. Touchdown, Kobe Prentice. His 6th of the year. Only 17 catches. All he does is catch touchdown.
Offset right as Robertson begins his drive, steps up in the pocket. He pushes vertical. That's complete. Already inside the 30 of Houston.
Sawyer did a great job navigating that pocket, but watch Prentice on the back end. The route on the outside buys up one of the.
We're aided. A bounce from Oklahoma State. Wide open. Running free. Kobe Prentice. Give the man 6.
Just speed. You talk about speed, speed, speed. Nothing to it. Just one right pass. Dylan Smith, the safety, who just squatting on it. And something this offense lacks a week ago versus Arizona State. The ability.
Robertson gonna pass again this time. Into the end zone it goes. Completion to Kobe Prentice. Touchdown for the Bears.
give you a thumbs up when he's back, okay? And you're on. Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. Brought to you by Modelo, heard exclusively on TuneIn. We are awaiting Eddie Nunez, the AD at Houston, and Will, I'm going to join the video call as soon as I find it here in just a moment. A lot of exciting things happening down in Houston, man. They were a preseason top 25. The coaches poll that just came out yesterday, they check in at number 24. Their first preseason top 25 ranking since they joined the Big 12. And then with men's basketball, all the success that they've had year over year, a loaded roster this season that Kelvin Sampson has put together, some high-profile transfers. Love the kid from Kent State, who is just a freak athletically. Averaged 18 points and 11 rebounds. JoJo Tugler is going to be playing a different position this year. They're going to put him at the 4 because they have a 7'1" 5-star center in last name Diane. Afrin Diane, I believe is how you say his first name. Highly touted prospect, 7'1". So, like, he makes Chris Sinak Jr. look small.
It's so crazy to me how Kelvin Sampson can just reload, retool, reload, whatever you want to call it, and still has a great team. He still has a national championship contending team. Houston's going to be really good on the basketball side. Houston's going to be really good on the football side. I can't wait to talk to Eddie Nunez because, he has two coaches on both sides, particularly in football and basketball, who just both know how to win. And I can only imagine. I want to ask him how easy that makes it for his job. And I don't mean that like in a bad way. I'm saying like you have two really good coaches who, at the very most, know how to, just figure out winning ways and bring a winning culture.
And the athletic director at Houston, Eddie Nunez, joins us now on the program. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. Hey, Eddie, how are you?
I'm great. How you guys doing?
Man, fantastic. Wow. Thank you for your time. I want to share a quick story with you. So this past February, Valentine's Day weekend, I was calling the Houston-Kansas State game, men's basketball for NBC, so I was in Houston. It's Valentine's Day, so I'm trying to navigate the whole work-wife thing. So I bring my wife with me down from Dallas. We had a lovely weekend in Houston, and she said, she loves Kelvin Sampson. She said, can I meet Kelvin Sampson? That's what I want for Valentine's Day. No flowers, no box of chocolates, no nothing. Just let me meet Kelvin Sampson. So I long story short, she comes to shoot around with me. They're taking pictures. They talked for like a half hour after practice. I'm just on the outside looking in. That's just the kind of guy. He's giving us marriage advice that Kelvin Sampson is. That's just the Houston way. It was incredible.
Well, I'm glad that experience, but that's who he is. Look, he's intense, and what you see on the court, that is who he is. I mean, he is somebody who loves, he's passionate about to be able to help the student athletes, to help his team be the best. But he really, all that what you just said, I mean, he's the first one to sit down, have a conversation about life and opportunity and get to know people. And so as hard as he can be on the court, he's also that kind of genuine person off the court, which is great.
Eddie, I truly believe that because I have a personal story as well. My dad, who unfortunately passed away, but he was a huge Kelvin Sampson fan. And when I had the opportunity to meet Kelvin, Kelvin said a lot of nice things and to me about grief and just life and how my dad would be proud. So I really appreciated that. I wish my dad could have had the opportunity to meet him, but I really appreciate Kelvin. How is being the person that Kelvin is, describe how he is able to just bring in the type of culture that just fits Houston so well.
Yeah, I think this started way before me, of course. And so me understanding what he had to go through to build that culture here, like anything else, when you take a program that has had its ups and downs and hasn't had success on a consistent basis, to be able to reframe everybody's mindset, it takes some hard work. It's going to take some risk, selling, getting people to buy in on his vision. But what you see today is a culmination of all those years of just working hard, just continually being consistent. It's important to have a belief and a desire to be great, but getting your kids to know that everything we're going to do is not going to be easy. But I promise you, if you do it, you're going to be better when this is over. And till the landscape has changed as much as it has over the last several years. He didn't have kids transferring out of his program. I think he had one or two in the last 10 years there for a while there. It was an unbelievable number. And it was because the kids bought into the culture. They understood it. And as hard as he is, and I played for a coach in Billy Donovan. And I remember people always saying that it was back in his early Billy Donovan age when he was Billy the Kid, and he had a lot of fire and a lot of intensity when he coached, but off the court, he was exactly what you mentioned earlier. James, it was that connected. Coach Sampson's the same way. He finds a way to connect, but he also teaches life lessons. So as hard as it is, he's never going to put you through something that's gonna challenge you to a point that you're not going to be able to find a way to be successful. If you are committed to the process, he's going to help you. That culture, that family, that everything that you hear about, that's real. That's real with him, and it's I've enjoyed being here and being able to be a part of it in my own way.
Well, Eddie, you guys are also winning at football now too. A 10-win season last year. The coaches poll just came out yesterday. Houston's in the top 25. Like when you got the job, Houston was at the bottom of like all power conference schools in terms of budget. And there are programs nationwide that it's easy to identify are not very good at managing their budget. Houston is exceptional at it. So what goes into that? And essentially, how are you guys doing more with less?
Yeah, first of all, you have to have coaches that believe and understand what we're trying to do. That we have challenges that pre-existed many of us. And we are to get us to where we want to be, because we all aspire to not just be competitive in the Big 12. We want to win championships. And so for us to be able to do that, we have to be able to have a plan, a process in everything we do. I've got two. I start off with football, as you mentioned, Willie Fritz. I mean, you got a guy who's been at every level. Something as simple as, look, we don't need to be taking these kind of charter flights. Let's take this one. It's a huge saving. Let's reinvest this money back into the program, into nutrition, things that we were deficient financially at the time when he first got here. Now we've been able to put that emphasis, grow it properly, but invest into the NIL space, make sure that, look, if we're going to play, we got to be all in. And so maximizing your revenue, but also maximizing what resources you have between Coach Sampson, Coach Fritz, all our coaches. Look, even the newest ones that we just brought in, I've told them point blank, we can do a lot here. I don't want to be the little train that could or this or that. That's not who we are here. We think big. We're gonna approach everything the right way. We're gonna have the expectations, but at the end of the day, we are still building this department to be competitive on a competitive, sustained competitiveness. Every year in every sport. And so I'm fortunate. Like I said, I've got great coaches that get it. We have to do it differently, but we don't back down from anything. If we don't have the resources, we're going to figure it out. That's the way I am. I'm the person that's going to say, tell me what we need to do, how we need to do it. I'm going to go out there in the streets. If I've got to get in front of a business leader, if I've got to get in front of somebody, if I've got to manage our budget a little bit differently, we have to be creative. We can't just say no, because we've got to find ways. And at the end of the day, if we get to a point we've exhausted our resources, so be it. But we're going to do it right.
Eddie, what are your thoughts on the Monster Energy deal and Brett Yormark's vision?
First of all, I'll start off with Brett's vision. The commissioner has been very intentional about trying to do things that have never been done, maybe not just here at the Big 12, but in conference in general. Looking at it different, looking at the corporate side, finding ways to generate new revenue. The Monster deal is just one of those examples. Sure, I think people sometimes get confused with that in the same category as a jersey patch for each individual school. But what we're doing is we're branding the Big 12 with Monster, which is a company that's not just being aggressive in the space of athletics in general. I mean, you see them from everything from X Games to this to that. I mean, everywhere. Their brand is growing and growing fast. For us to be able to have that connection is important. We've got to find companies that are aggressive, companies that are innovative, companies that are wanting to do it. Yes, they have to do it the right way, and we believe that the Monster does. Sure, we could all sit here and say we want $3 more. Let's put it nicely. I'm not going to say millions or this or that. We all want more. Now, what does that mean? Well, let's grow our brand. Let's grow with the right partners, and hopefully this grows to become something that's even bigger in the future. So, but I think everybody needs to understand it's not ideal when you think about we all want more money, but the reality is our brand and our jersey patch is different than the Monster deal. So.
Got it. Well said. Perfectly well said. I also wanted to follow up too. What are your thoughts on the Protect College Sports Act? That seems to be going through the hurdles through Congress. How do you think that deal, how do you think that act, if it gets passed, will affect Houston?
Well, I think you've heard everybody say this. It's not perfect, but it's moving us in the right direction. And nothing in life is truly perfect. There's always, you strive for perfection, but the reality is you've got to be as good as you can get. And anything we put out there, there's going to be things that people find loopholes or find ways to be creative. We need structure. We need something that we all align, not just the group of five, the power, the P5. It is all conferences understand what we're doing and how we're doing it. So I think sometimes it gets convoluted where people think it's just the P4 that are trying to figure this out. It's really what we're trying to do for college athletics. And so there's things in there that we can all sit here and find the good, the bad, and the ugly with. I feel for us, having some understanding of what the next several years are going to look like, if we can get to a place where this now becomes a reality, an actual official reality for us, then it allows us to plan accordingly. What it's hard for us to do, and every school, not just us, we're trying to establish a system within our operations, budget-wise, everything else, to know that this is constantly changing and changing by the minute. Even if it's your rev share is going from this to this, or now all of this big pool, this cap goes from here to there, we have to plan. And if we're planning one way, and we've all restructured our organizations. Everyone in college athletics has had to do things way different than they were doing them before. But if we have to continue to change that almost on a weekly basis, because that's how it feels like, it's hard for us to be able to establish continuity. We are a part of a bigger picture, not just the industry of college athletics. We're part of the ecosystem of college academics, the university. And so understanding how all that plays into this, and having some structure will be the ultimate outcome here. But it's not perfect, but it is something we all have to support because it's going to give us a chance to get where we ultimately want to be.
Yeah, definitely. Step in the right direction. Eddie Nunez, the Houston AD, is with us, played for Billy Donovan at Florida. I was obsessed with those Florida teams back in the day. By the way, I'm ordering like Florida shorts off East Bay, rocking those at the K-State Rec Center. Eddie, how many head coaches have you hired during your Houston tenure, and what are the characteristics and traits that you look for as you go through that process?
Yeah, it's funny you said that. Yesterday we had our first head coaches meeting for the year. I only try to do a certain number of the year. I don't want to inundate our coaches. I looked around the room and there's 7 new coaches between the last year and today. So last year we hired 4, and then this spring, 3, and then this spring we hired 4. So 2 of them this year took opportunities that they came after them for. 2 we had to make a change for. So 7 total coaches. And when you ask what is the criteria, you're always going to look for coaches that have had success. Let's be honest. Look, you're not going to go after and find somebody who's the bottom of the barrel. You want somebody who can win and win at a high level. But for me, it starts first and foremost with, I want an individual that has high character, high integrity. And so before I even go down the path of calling coaches, I'm doing my due diligence, not probably just watching them in advance, but finding people that have connected with them at some point and can tell me who they are, what their true character is, what kind of integrity do they have. Because this job is really hard for all of us. And if I can't have a coach that I can trust and I can know is doing it for the right reasons, I want somebody to push the needle. I want somebody to be innovative. I want somebody to be creative. But I have to know that they're doing it for the right reasons and they're the right people. Take that, add it to the success that they're having with their particular sport, and then I throw one that I learned throughout my career that's important, but you have to understand the level of importance is fit. Every school is different. And I when I was at New Mexico, one of the things that I understood was you had to understand New Mexico. You had to understand what that meant to be at a place like New Mexico. It's a great community, great culture, but you have to know what you're embarking upon. Same thing here. I want people to understand that they can fit in the state of Texas, the region, the magnitude of being in a city that has 4 million people, but also has every Fortune 500 company that you could ever imagine. How do you task that? How do you address it? You understand that we are not just building this program, we're building it bigger and better than it's ever been. So that's the vision that I have for all our coaches, finding the right people. Ultimately, after that, it just becomes, if it's in my gut, if it feels like it in my gut after having conversations, then we ultimately go the path that we've done.
Love it, man. Love it. I bet there are times where it feels like every day you wake up and college athletics has a new rule, but we appreciate your time.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you again for what you do for the conference, and anytime you all need any of us, let us know. We're here.
Awesome. Thanks,
you,
Eddie. Good
Appreciate
to see
it.
you.
See you guys. Have a great one.
All right. Eddie Nunez, the athletic director at Houston. So much success within that program when you look at men's basketball, when you look at football, who went undefeated on the road last year, first time they had done that in like 2 decades, win 10 games under Willie Fritz, and now getting all this preseason hype. It is awesome to see.
Yeah, I love it. I wish Houston was ranked a little bit higher, and I'm sure Eddie does too. But I think the football program is in really, really good hands, and I really love what he said about Calvin Sampson. It's one thing because we see it on the forefront, being on the media side, but Eddie, he's with guys like Calvin Sampson, guys like Willie Fritz, constantly, dang near every day, and to see that up close, the basketball and football side, and off the field and off the court side, I thought that was tremendous.
Awesome stuff. We had a bunch of ADs today. We'll tell you who they were, how you can find replays of those interviews coming up next. He's Taman. I'm James. This is Big 12 Radio.
Pressure again off the edge. Wigman has Koziel. He's got room to run. Touchdown.
Great protection. Jump ball for his tight end. And he reeled it in. Wow. How about Tanner Koziel? Of Tanner Koziel on that play. Goes up in the middle of 3 defenders.
Oh, nice.
To the end zone. The tight end, Koziel. Touchdown, Houston.
True 6'7", he blinked, he didn't blink and said, absolutely he is. And when you've got that against a guy who, although isn't short at 6 foot, and Marquise Groves Killebrew, 6 foot 179, the red shirt junior transfer is no match for a guy 6'7", 257. You've got reach on him, you got size on him, and a quarterback that can put it right on the spot. That's outstanding football.
Looking for 6 instead of 3. Wigman, touchdown. His favorite target, Tanner Koziel.
That one to the flat, he's going to be the crosser versus man coverage. Got to double team this guy everywhere on the field.
The game.
One final time here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. Will Connerly filling in the producer chair because Taman Turner is in the co-host chair where Ari Timken usually sits. We'll be the crew this week, except tomorrow, right? I'm James Westling, by the way. Tomorrow, are you here tomorrow? What's tomorrow?
I am not.
What is tomorrow? Thursday?
Tomorrow is Thursday.
Got it.
I am out. I will not be back until Tuesday. This has been a lot of fun with you and with Will. The next time I'll be back, it'll be me, Ari, and Will, because I know you'll be out.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
But I have had a lot of fun. You and I always have a good time. We joke around. We make fun of each other. I root for the Wildcats while he roots for the Jayhawks. Make that make sense. But I love it.
Wait, who roots for the Jayhawks?
You.
I can't tell if you're being serious.
Well, see, here's the thing. Last time I checked, I had Kansas State's jerseys on my top 5. My opponent did not. Last time I checked, when we were saying goodbye to our good friend Matt Tate, he'd said Rock Chalk. I did not. Earlier when we were talking about the jerseys, I'm bringing that up again, I said Emaw. He did not. So I think I root for the Wildcats, and he roots for the Jayhawks.
Okay.
I think I made a solid argument there.
Taman's packing a punch in this final segment. Let's go.
I root for all 16 member institutions equally.
As do I.
Okay, there's no purple-tinted glasses over here. All right?
You know what, James? I'm a little disappointed. I'm just a lad, a little bit. Because if Ari Timken were sitting here, he would flat out say, I'm rooting for the Jayhawks. Go Jayhawks. He's not rooting for the Kansas State Wildcats.
Listen, when Kansas State is playing, I'm Team K-State. When they're not playing, I'm Team everybody else. All right? You're rage baiting me. That's what you're doing. You are rage baiting me right now, which is like a common theme in my household right now. Everybody thinks it's hilarious to rage bait me. Do you know what rage bait is?
What I'm doing to you.
Yeah, because it took a minute for me to fully understand this new Gen Z terminology.
Hey, I am
trolling.
not.
Trolling is what we called it back in my day. Thank you, Will.
For the record, I am not Gen Z. I am a proud millennial.
What are you, Will?
1998.
What is that?
That's a Gen Z.
Are you a Gen Z?
Yes, Z.
Okay, so you know like all the cool terms
No,
and
I
slogans.
don't.
You
That's
guys
the
have
thing.
like a catchy phrase for everything.
From what I hear, millennial.
Head rotting.
It's
is
not
just
you
laying around in
guys.
bed all day.
No, it's not you guys. There's another generation now. That's the new term. Z's, I think, not in that anymore.
No, from what I hear.
Well, or is it? I don't know, because I don't know that
No,
stuff, and I'm Z.
Millennials 81 to 95. Gen Z's 96 to 11.
Oh,
And
so
then
I'm actually...
Alpha is 11.
Alpha?
Yeah. 11 to 24.
Okay.
Like my son
2011.
just made the cut.
Yeah.
So it's the alpha era.
Right.
It's really rage baiting me.
Yeah.
At the moment.
Even though I just did it and I'm nowhere near the alpha.
You're pretty good at it. I
try.
will say.
I try.
will say you're really good at it. You'll fire off a text and the group text will be unhinged. It's good.
No offense.
USC has withdrawn from a potential series with Texas Tech. This is for football. This is not basketball. This is football. So USC and Texas Tech, which we were trying to remember off the cuff, like a couple of weeks ago, hey, who was that really big non-conference opponent that Texas Tech had agreed to a home-and-home with? Turns out it wasn't a home-and-home. They were going to play in Houston, and then they were going to play in Las Vegas. No, I beg your pardon. They were going to play a home-and-home, but USC has withdrawn. USC says, sorry, Texas Tech, we're in the Big Ten. We can't be playing you guys. We need to be playing Western Carolina or whoever else. They did just re-up their series with Notre Dame, which is probably what led to this because, God forbid, we play a school like Notre Dame and Texas Tech in the same season. Not going to happen.
It's funny how you mentioned both USC and Notre Dame, two schools I do not like with a passion. USC, did you make the college football playoff last year?
No.
Did Texas Tech make the college football playoff last year?
Yes.
So USC, what are you afraid of? You have not won a championship since I was in the 7th grade. Okay? If you're the big top dog and you want to, battle in the Big Ten, what are you afraid of? Notre Dame, Joey McGuire said it last year, join a conference and maybe you'll get in the CFP. Don't complain. I'm sorry. Those two schools, it's just privileged beyond privileged. They get their fancy game on NBC. You know, it just
against Boston College and Purdue.
Yeah, exactly. To me, they are the rich, privileged kid, and they get mad at their parents for giving them $5 million, and they think they should have gotten 10.
Yeah. It's well said.
Drives me insane.
Well said. So, yeah, USC backs out. Texas Tech is looking for another high-profile non-conference opponent to play in 2027 and 2028. They'll find it, but it won't be USC. All right, tomorrow, who do we have?
Tomorrow, I will tell you, you guys have for the countdown to kickoff, you guys are doing UCF.
All right.
And our good friend Matt Michelle from the Orlando Sentinel will join us. Will join you guys, I should say. And then you're going to have some replays of today's interviews of Kirby Hocutt, Doug McNamee, and Eddie Nunez. And you and Will get to play Let's Get It On.
Oh, let's do it. All right.
Fun.
All right, he's Damon Turner. I'm James Westling for Will Connerly, who will be in this chair tomorrow. I'll be in that chair. Anthony Smith, our producer for Big 12 Studios, crushing it as always. We're back tomorrow, same time, same place, 8A to 11A Eastern Time. Our Wednesday Power Hour interviews start at 2 Eastern, 1 o'clock Central. A replay of the show is coming up next, exclusively on TuneIn. We are brought to you by Modelo.
Peace.